Hello. I feel like Val Venus right now. Hello, ladies.
580 Sports Talk coming to you on a Thursday. Thank you so much for joining us on an overcast, more fall-like Thursday. Jake LeBon, Brendan Warzinski, Dan Lucero with you today. And we're going to cover the whole gamut of things today, folks. We're going to talk about college football. We're going to get to the Sunflower Showdown. We're going to talk about the Chiefs. We're going to get to possible extensions. We are going to talk high school football. It is sub-state. That is right. Back in the day, we used to call this the game for the banner. In order to get a banner at your school, you got to win this one.
Can you say sub-state in the same voice you've been doing to imitate Charlie Weiss talking about K-State, please?
Sub-state.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
I needed that in my life. Thank you.
And we're going to get to a little bit of Royals. The Royals actually doing something very, very stupid. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So we call that what?
A day ending in Y?
I was going to say we call that pulling a Royal. Or a day ending in Y.
I haven't heard that one before, but I'm with you.
So we'll talk a little Royals baseball today here on this November 16th as the Royals decided to make new moves and waves. And
they signed Shohei Ohtani?
See, that's not even like, I can't even entertain that because I know that's not going to happen. That's going to be like, Jake, you won the lottery? Wow. Actually, that's more viable than the Royals signing Shohei Ohtani. That's how sad that is. But we'll get to that. We're going to hear from Patrick Mahomes. We're going to hear from Andy Reid. We got so much to get to on this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Let us know your thoughts. 785-272-9429. You can go to our YouTube page, interact with us. YouTube.com, search 580 Sports Talk, hit the subscribe button. It's really simple. And then the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, will be coming up at 5:30 today. So we got a lot to get to. Lots to get to today. We're going to start things off, though, with a question that I was wondering what the Chiefs were going to do this offseason once Chris Jones was not going to be a Kansas City Chief. They didn't agree on a contract. He obviously wants more. The Chiefs are not willing to give him that much. So he's going to get tagged and he's going to get traded. That's basically what is happening. He wants $30 million a year. And if he wasn't going to get $30 million a year this year, Brendan, he definitely isn't going to get $30 million a year next year.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could have argued this year. Hard to argue next year. So I don't think that's going to happen. So then this came up today from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. They've got L'Jarius Sneed as the number 7th ranked free agent in the NFL coming up this offseason. Do you buy that? Yes or no? Real quick, the first 6 are Brian Burns, edge for the Panthers,
Mm-hmm.
Chris Jones for the Chiefs, Kirk Cousins for the Vikings, Christian Wilkins for the Dolphins, Daniel Hunter of the Vikings, T. Higgins of the Bengals are ahead of him. Do you think L'Jarius Sneed fits at number 7, first of all, and he is ahead of Chase Young, who now plays for the 49ers, Josh Allen, no, not that Josh Allen, the Josh Allen who plays edge for the Jaguars, number 9, and then Robert Hunt, guard for the Dolphins at number 10. You got him as the 7th best free agent this offseason.
I don't know that I would rank him ahead of any of the names he's behind, and I don't know that I'd rank him behind any of the names that he's immediately ahead. So, I mean, you can quibble with like value, like is Saquon Barkley, who ranks 16th on this list, is he better at his position than L'Jarius Sneed is at his? Maybe, but in terms of value, obviously there's higher positional value being a defensive back than a running back. So yeah, I think that makes sense. I think he's pretty safely a top 10 free agent heading into next year's market?
I think more than anything, because looking at the guys just behind him, Josh Allen's having a really good year for the Jaguars. At least started the year really well. I still believe in Chase Young, even though he hasn't played a whole lot because of the injuries and now has getting traded. I still believe in the talent there. Here's the most important reason why I think Sneed is that high. Well, every team needs good corners. You cannot survive. You can survive without an elite defensive tackle. You can survive without elite linebackers or a perfect tight end. Every single team in the NFL in 2023 and forward needs good cornerbacks. Of the top 25 free agents listed in this ESPN column, how many corners do they have?
4.
3.
I was close.
You were close.
But act like I said like 18.
I mean, percentage-wise, it's a big difference if you're talking only 25 is your total number. But I digress. 4 percentage points, in fact. But Jalen Johnson of the Bears and Kendall Fuller, who's approaching 30 from the Commanders. Those are the only other cornerbacks they have listed in the top 25.
A Super Bowl champ, Kendall Fuller.
Yes, it is Super Bowl. Yeah, it is. How about that? Forgot he was a
He's a big part of that.
Yeah, he was. I completely blanked on that.
Yeah.
Then he went back to Washington. He came from Washington, then went
Yeah,
back
he's in
to
the
Washington.
Alex Smith trade.
Alex Smith trade,
He's a hired gun, baby.
Yeah, how about that?
A mercenary.
But there are just not a lot of top-end corners that are going to be available this year. And is Sneed better right now than Kendall Fuller is? Yes, I think so. Is he better right now than Jalen Johnson is? Yes, I think so. And those two are the same age, I believe, right at 25. Actually, Sneed's a year and a half older. But nonetheless, I still think Sneed is the best of that group. And honestly, almost by default, he's a top 7 or 8 guy available because there aren't many options.
Yeah. Well, according to Jeremy Fowler, this is what he says on why he could get paid. Well, Sneed has the traits to match up against the perimeter play as a disruptive slot defender. He's got an interception. He's a scheme versatile corner, a.k.a. he's a good player. What they're hearing, this is what Jeremy Fowler of ESPN is hearing. This is the first that we have heard any of this now. Sneed's do-it-all style will translate well to free agency with the ability to play press coverage on the outside or be physical in the slot. Kansas City would like to keep Sneed, and they have had preliminary contract talks with him, but right now both sides appear focused on the current season. Talks could reignite after it ends. If they go nowhere, Sneed is a franchise tag or free agency candidate. Enough contending teams were looking for a corner at the trade deadline, including Buffalo and San Francisco, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. Well, that's first that we've heard that they're engaging in talks. Haven't heard that before. And this is what I've wondered. I have wondered, the Chiefs are going to have plenty of cap space to sign some guys this upcoming season. Now, are they going to sign their own, or are they going to go out and sign new guys? Well, if you weren't going to pay Chris Jones, you've got, $45 million to spend. Would you look at signing L'Jarius Sneed? He's 27 years old. He's been pretty durable, but his knees might be a knee, singular, might be an issue. He's better than any player that you're going to get in the draft right now for the Kansas City Chiefs. And he fits the system so well. We know that. If Price weren't, if this were like baseball, right? He's signing with the Chiefs. Like, no questions asked. You're going to sign him because you're going to pay for him. But because there's a cap, you got to allocate your money the proper way. We know that Brett Veach and the Kansas City Chiefs can find corners. We talked about it. Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, Josh Williams, Najee Johnson, Shamari Connor, Nick Jones. They find corners. But this is the first that we've heard of signing L'Jarius Sneed. The other thing, too, is that he's a franchise tag candidate. You can only use one tag. I just don't see the Chiefs letting Chris Jones walk away for nothing. I just don't see that. If you tag Sneed, then he plays on the tag, but then Chris Jones walks. Now, maybe if you get something done with Chris Jones, I don't see that happening. You can tag L'Jarius Sneed. I don't think that's what they want to do. I think if they're going to keep him, they're going to, because he's going to be 27, sign him to a 4-year deal, Get out of it after 3. He plays 27, 28, 29. You can get out of it after the age of the 29 season. So I do think that is an option for the Kansas City Chiefs, because that is there is something to keeping Sneed, McDuffie, Watson, Williams, Johnson happy, but also keeping them together because they're damn good. But you also do have Najee Johnson, Shamari Connor there as well. So this is the first time that we've heard any of this, which makes me wonder, maybe the Chiefs are interested in keeping Sneed because they won't have Chris Jones on the roster.
If you're Brett Veach, are you willing to pay L'Jarius Sneed the 6th most money of any cornerback in the NFL next year?
What does that contract look like?
$18.5 million. That's the tag.
I'm sorry,
$18.1 million. That's the tag.
Well,
So
I don't think they're going to tag him.
No, I think the tag's going to Jones.
Yeah, that's why I don't think that's even an option.
Okay.
And they're not going to let Jones walk.
But would I give L'Jarius Sneed $18 million a year or thereabouts as 27-year-old coming off the best season of his career? I think I would. I think that if the choices are, if all you know about two valuable would-be defensive free agents are their ages, it is a lot likelier, the way the Chiefs have done business, that the 27-year-old gets paid before the 30-year-old. Their history, both in terms of extending their own players and in terms of pursuing free agents, is that younger is better. You're not going to see them give a contract to a guy who's going to play at any length on that contract where he is definitively past his physical prime. The only exception the Chiefs have made here is Travis Kelce. And he is an exception because he's going to the Hall of Fame. So when you consider just where those two players are, where they are on the trajectory of their careers, the line graph, if you will, I think it might make more sense to do something for Sneed for the next 4 years than it would to do something for Jones for the next 4 years.
Well, let me ask you this question real quick. It's not going to be the same apples to apples, but right now you get to choose one free agent for the Kansas City Chiefs. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You get L'Jarius Sneed at a good contract or Chase Young at a good contract. What are you doing?
In that equation, probably Sneed.
Sneed?
Probably.
Because that's what they might have to determine, something of that. Because Chase Young would give you a spot that you don't have, because Dana's not going to be there. Jones is not going to be there. You know, you're going to lose a little bit up front.
Yeah, but if you're signing Chase Young, he's not replacing Mike Dana. If you're signing Chase Young, he's bumping like Amenahu down the depth chart. Amenahu's your Dana replacement at that point.
Well, I think all three of them are going to start, because I think Amenahu he can play defensive tackle
full time.
I'm sure. I think that can be something that's doable. Like the reason
I don't think he's your 1st and 10 defensive tackle, but would he play like a starter's workload of snaps between the outside and the inside? Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
The reason I bring that up is the one thing that the Chiefs, if they decide to do something else besides spend money at corner, I get it, because you've got McDuffie. You've got, it all depends honestly on how they feel about Shamari Connor and the health of Najee Johnson. If they feel like Johnson, who was going to be CB3 going into this year, behind Sneed and behind McDuffie, it was Najee Johnson. I remember that floored me when Matt Derrick said that. That kind of floored all of us when he said that during camp, that no, Najee Johnson was getting first team reps. If you think he can come back, or you think Shamari Connor can play well, then you don't re-sign Sneed. And you use that money elsewhere, because you still have Trent McDuffie. You still have it's just how you prognosticate those other corners. If they didn't have Connor or Johnson or Watson or Williams, or if they didn't feel good about him, then you 1,000% take the money that you're going to give to Jones and give to L'Jarius Sneed.
What are you spending the money on?
Well, it depends on what you have available. You know, do you want to try to keep some of your offensive linemen? Do you want to keep Creed Humphrey? Do you want to keep Trey Smith? You know,
Here's the thought.
do you want to go after a defensive lineman? Do you want to go after a Wilkins? They've got money to spend here.
So let's remember last year when their left tackle was entering free agency, Orlando Brown, and there had been protracted negotiations that ended up never going anywhere. And everybody kind of understood that 2022 was going to be Orlando Brown Jr.'s last year with the Chiefs because he saw himself having more value than the Chiefs did. And Orlando Brown went to free agency and got a contract. And the Chiefs turned around and they spent money they were probably willing to allocate to Orlando Brown on Juwan Taylor. They went out and they found a younger replacement on the offensive line. What's to say they don't do that at defensive tackle? What's to say they don't take the money that they've earmarked for Chris Jones? Chris Jones doesn't want this money. Chris Jones wants more money than this. Maybe Justin Madubuike from Baltimore would be.
He's having a great year, by the way.
Yeah, 8.5 sacks. He's on this list. He's 16th on this list. I didn't come up with that name out of thin air. I wish I did. That would be really impressive. But no, he's actually, 13th on this list.
He's going to be a big factor tonight, folks.
Yeah, like, okay, what if Madubuike would do $25 million a year? Because Jones isn't. Jones wants 30. But if you could get a player like Madubuike, who's younger, 4 years younger, for a little cheaper,
$24 million,
wouldn't that track with, again, how this Chiefs front office operates? When you follow a team enough and you watch how they've built, and it's been a successful way of building a team, old transactions, old signings, old ways of doing business, those are breadcrumbs to usually end up being breadcrumbs to what ends up happening in the future.
What does your gut tell you right now? What do you think? What do you think he does?
I don't think either Sneed or Jones is back.
I don't think so either. I think they're going to tag Jones and they'll just let Sneed walk.
That would be my assumption.
That's what I think too. I don't see. I think the Chiefs feel good about McDuffie, Johnson, Williams, Watson, and Shamari Connor. I think they're going to look at that's 4 bodies that we can throw at this position. But now the question is, what are they going to do with it? You know, what's more valuable? Is a Madubuike at $24 million a year help make this team better than L'Jarius Sneed at what? $18 million a year?
18, 19.
Because Sneed's going to, at first we all thought, okay, Sneed might get the, Charvarius Ward contract, right? 3 years, $40 million, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. That's doable if you are the Kansas City Chiefs. It is. But I think he's playing himself into a much bigger contract, to be honest with you. And that's why I think the Chiefs feel like that's one position that they can find.
I would use it to address defensive tackle, personally. That's what I would do.
Yeah, if you're going to lose Chris Jones and, Mike Dana is going to go get a big contract somewhere else.
At least you have the fill-in for Dana with Udike Uzama.
Yeah, you're still going to need like an interior presence next year, an interior pass rush presence.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's going to be a number of guys out there. Christian Wilkins, among them. He's the best, other than Chris Jones, who's going to be available. I just
isn't Wilkins though about the same age as Jones?
No. He's 2 years younger.
2 years, yeah,
a year and a half younger. Yeah, a couple seasons younger. I think he was a little bit older when he came out because Jones was really young when he came out. But yeah, I mean, there will be guys out there who you can go after to fill that spot. I think that's going to be the most important. I personally think the Charles Omenihu who can move inside stuff is overrated. He's played 19 snaps on the interior this year out of 116 total.
And I bet all 19 of those were on 3rd and long.
I can tell you, actually, Pro Football Focus allows you to judge that. Yes, they have all been in pass rush situations. 17 of 19 have been in pass rush situations.
3rd and long, yeah.
Yeah, so
that's where they bring in, they put Dana inside or they remove Noddy and they,
and you bump Omenihu in and you do the kind of the NASCAR package, one true defensive tackle on 3 ends. Yeah.
Coming up next, I can't believe this is a thing. Will I watch it? Probably. But we'll get to what will be the most watched documentary in this area in quite some time. like documentaries.
Love them.
Yeah.
I like
Generally.
them too. I like them too. I think there's some really good documentaries. 30 for 30 does a pretty good job of those, but there are some other documentaries.
30 for 30s feel like an event. And I can't remember the last time
been a
30 for 30 came out. And I was like, I have to watch this immediately.
Netflix has got some good ones, Untold.
Netflix has been in the game with some strong ones lately.
The Manti Te'o one was very good.
Yeah.
I really liked that one. The Tim Donaghy one, really good, Untold, of the NBA ref. Well, we got another documentary coming out, and everyone here in the Midwest, especially in the state of Kansas and Missouri, will be I'll be interested in it just because it involves my team. But according to ESPN, they are going to have a documentary called Werewolf: The Search for Chiefs-aholic.
Let's point out the wordplay here. Where, like WHERE, wolf.
Yeah.
Werewolf.
Says here, Werewolf: The Search for Chiefs-aholic, a new long-form documentary from SC Featured, unravels the astonishing tale of a fervent Kansas City Chiefs superfan, Xavier Babadar. The 40-minute Werewolf takes viewers on a gripping journey through the life of Babadar, a passionate football enthusiast whose alleged actions took a criminal turn, leaving the nation in shock. In his first public comments since his second arrest, through his lawyer, responds to the jail extensions, questions, all of this. Folks, we're going to get to know everything there is to know about Chiefs-aholic.
Chiefs-aholic speaks through his lawyer.
Like, I would like to make a statement about this press release from ESPN. A passionate football enthusiast whose alleged actions took a criminal turn. I'm pretty sure it was always criminal. I don't think there was any turn. I'm pretty sure this was criminal to the core here.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like he was like actually loaded and then all of a sudden one day wasn't anymore and had to go rob these banks.
Allegedly.
Sprinkle some allegedly on it for me, please.
I'm so excited.
I will watch this just because, one, you're going to hear from him, and two, this is such a stupid story, but it involves my team, so I'm going to watch it. If this were about the Carolina Panthers, I would not watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it's because it's the Chiefs.
Yeah,
I
so,
get that. I don't care about Chiefs-aholic here. I care about his doofus attorney. I need more of Matthew Merriman because everything we have seen from him so far indicates that he probably graduated from like lawdegree.net.
Hollywood upstairs law school.
Yeah, I mean, he's the one who had the quote about Chiefs-aholic's game-winning drive or whatever when he first got apprehended.
This is the most important drive of Xavier's life, I think is what he said.
I mean, just a complete doofus.
I want to know how he was on the lam for that long. That's all I care about. That dude was that. And you only ended up in like Bakersfield, California. Bro, I figured you'd be somewhere in Nicaragua or like, Argentina by that time. You were at he should have been at the Taylor Swift concert here. Like, that's all you ended up. You had that it was like 3 months and he ended up in Bakersfield or wherever it was, California.
Listen,
come on.
All I'm going to say,
I am out of the country.
All I'm going to say is Dwight Yoakam told us very clearly many years ago, you don't want to mess around on the streets of Bakersfield.
So a couple of additions regarding this. So this is an ESPN Plus
it's not a 30-30
premiere.
Well, we know y'all have that already.
Yes, you got that ESPN Plus. You're on that. So it's going to premiere exclusively on November 20th, which that is Monday.
Yeah, the Chiefs-Eagles game.
So you can watch it after Monday Night Football. Yep. It's 40 minutes. I really feel like to do this story justice, you really needed to maybe stretch your legs more than 40 minutes. I could probably do with a full hour of all of this, maybe more, depending. I could also do with a feature film, to be quite honest. One of these days, God willing, we will get a Chiefsaholic feature film.
Have you seen who the list of interviewees in the documentary is?
Yes.
It includes Chiefsaholic himself via his lawyer, his doofus lawyer, the Bixby, Oklahoma police chief, the district attorney for Tulsa, Oklahoma, another super fan by the name of Weird Wolf. What's with the wolf thing?
Casey Wolf.
Yeah, I know. I think there's another
the wolf thing.
strange furry subculture going on among Chiefs fans that we're unaware of, and I'm afraid to have it discovered. Literally a guy from Twitter and then another Chiefs fan using their real name. That's it. How did they come up with it? They literally took a guy from Twitter and made him an interviewee.
That's how I'm hoping to one day feature in a documentary. Don't knock it.
Yeah. I'll watch it just because
I will be there no matter what.
I want to see more of this. I want to know more about him being on the lam, man. Come on.
I might watch this before the game, honestly. This might be my pregame show for Monday Night Football.
So we got that to look forward to coming up on Monday. Coming up next, we'll talk all things Big 12 football Sunflower Showdown with Paul Myerberg. Talking all things Big 12 football for our Big 12 breakdown. On the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline, we go to Paul Myerberg from USA Today. covers the college football world. Follow him on Twitter at Paul Myerberg, USA Today. He is the best. Paul, my guy, we got 2 weeks of the regular season left. How we doing?
It's going by too fast, guys. Like, what's going on here? Like, all of a sudden it's Thursday again. So this thing's slipping away. I'm feeling a tremendous sense of loss and anxiety and sadness. So, I'm doing terrible. But let's milk this thing. We actually got 3 weeks. Don't sell me short, okay? We got 2 regular season games in November, and then we got conference championship Saturday. So, hey, we got Army and Navy too. So we got 4 weeks left technically. So let's just roll with that.
All right, let's get to the game that was actually a game first locally. Kansas taking on Texas Tech. If Jason Bean doesn't get hurt, I think KU wins that game. KU probably should have won the game anyway, but a lack of red zone efficiency, some interesting play calling. They end up falling to Texas Tech, which is a bummer, 16-13. When you look at that game against Texas Tech and the Jason Bean situation, how do you evaluate it?
No, I mean, you nailed it. I mean, if Bean plays that game, I just don't see them losing the game. And yeah, like, I don't want to criticize play calling or just the kind of ineptness of the offense. The truth is, guys, like, you're down to your third string guy. How much time has Ballard getting? Like, how much time is he seeing at practice? How ready is he? That's no disrespect to the kid. It's just a matter of time, matter of ability to get him up to speed. So I don't want to get too bogged down in it. If Bean plays, they win. The only thing that I would nitpick with, guys, is whether or not Bean is there. I thought 2 weeks ago against Iowa State, the response that KU had to that sort of adversity of a team that was just kind of keeping them at arm's length, like basically tugging on KU's back like a parachute, for them to win that game and then come back against Tech at home and just not have the ability to respond, that to me is the only disappointing thing. You know what I mean? And the fact that they're not going to win 10 games, whatever, I mean, so be it. Disappointing thing is the response. If Bean plays this Saturday, I expect a better performance, but obviously without him, you're down to your third string QB. It's tough for anybody to be successful. So I don't begrudge KU having a close loss to a pretty solid team.
When you look at the KU defense, what do you need to take away from the KU defense that held Iowa State to 21 and they scored a late touchdown there? And then Texas Tech scores, 16. It seems like this K-State defense is really playing well, or this KU defense is really playing well.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks in a row they've done well. And look, like, the last thing that they were doing is sitting back on their heels and giving up 63 yards in 20 seconds or whatever it was. So I don't want to praise them too much. But we've spoken a lot this season, even back in August, about how good we felt about KU's offense, how much we had seen from that offense, how we were kind of waiting for the defense to catch up. The defense catching up is a matter of experience. It's a matter of depth. It's a matter of preparation, but it's also a matter of, like, good vibes, of confidence. Like, it also works on defense, just like it does on offense. So I really like the way they played the last 2 weeks. A big test on Saturday that's going to be different than what they faced recently. But yeah, I think you start stacking together 8 quarters in a row of solid defense. That's something you can build on. So maybe not this season, but if you start to do the autopsy on this year, but in February and March as you get into spring drills, I think you'll see a lot of things that you liked here in November. And that's a positive sign. I don't want to overlook that.
Alrighty, when it comes to the quarterback situation for this weekend, Lance Leipold basically has this philosophy. If you don't practice at the quarterback position, then we're not going to play you, because that one that burned him once already this year, when it comes to, Jalen Daniels took all the reps for the game against Texas and then couldn't go, and we saw how that worked out. I think that might have been more about Texas, but still, if you don't practice, if Bean doesn't practice during the week, then he's not going to play on Saturday. How do you gauge and balance hey, if he just practices a little bit Friday or a little bit. Now, their offensive coordinator, Andy Koltnick, he did say he got a lot of reps in yesterday. Don't know if that's true or not. We'll have to wait and see. But a part of me says, hey, for Chris Ballard, I don't care how many reps he gets. If Bean is healthy, I play him, even if he didn't get the reps during the week. How do you balance that? Go with Bean, who is at least a veteran, versus no week of practice, versus Ballard, who is a third string guy with a week of practice.
Yeah, okay, this for me is easy, but I understand where it's coming from, right? For me, it's easy. Like, have Bean come on the field tomorrow if he's not going to practice today, and just have him throw one pass. Like, just come over here and I'm going to run a button hook and just throw it to me. And then I'm like, okay, we've covered our bases. That's what I would do. But I understand, like, you're building a program here, right? And you don't want to take shortcuts. And you don't want to play favorites. And you don't want to have favorites. And I'm not saying that he favors Bean over Ballard on a personal level. I think it's all production based. I think you got to do what you got to do to get Bean to play on Saturday. I understand the rules, and rules have to be what they are. You know what you're doing here, Lance Leipold. But it is a fine line. I would just do whatever the heck it took to get Bean on the field Saturday, because regardless of whether or not Ballard has 6 days of work with the ones under his belt, it doesn't matter. Bean's the better QB, and you need to have a shot here on Saturday to win against your rival for the first time in 15 years almost. And I just don't want to. I don't want to mess with that. So I think that KU is going to do what they have to do to get Bean on the field. And I don't think that they're going to stick to their guns and say, well, he didn't practice, he's not going to play if he's ready to go. I think that makes sense in a holistic sense, if that makes any sense again. But you can't do that. You got to play Bean on Saturday. If he's 100% or close to it, I expect that he's going to get snaps.
We're chatting with Paul Myerberg, who covers all things college football for USA Today. He joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for this week's Big 12 breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. When it comes to what's actually going to happen on the field then on Saturday, Paul, especially if it is Cole Ballard who gets a lion's share of the snaps or a decent number of them, whatever the share ends up being, KU is going to want to run the ball. KU generally wants to run the ball. That's where it finds the most success, in recent history. It's found its most success when running the ball. K-State is very good against the run, and they run a defensive set, that 3-3-5 stack that KU has really struggled with when it comes to getting Devin Neal going, getting Daniel Highshaw going. What do you make of that matchup between the KU run game and K-State's run defense?
Yeah, I don't like it, guys. And I don't like it Ballard's playing in particular, because you lose the ability to make K-State think twice. So I really don't like it in that situation. If you're one-dimensional, and you don't at least have Bean have 2 great starts under his belt. I mean, I would certainly say Iowa State was his best, but he's had 2 solid starts this season, a couple more last year. I don't like it. I don't like what KU could do offensively if they're unbalanced like that. And not to mention, look, like, this is a weird math. Last 5 quarters, Kansas State's been one of the best teams in the country. What they did against Baylor was a total butt kick. And if KU's not buckled up and ready to roll, I mean, Kansas State could easily put 40 on them, easily beat them by 28, 21 points. I mean, I'm not talking out of school. I think that's the truth. If everyone has watched these teams of late, I think you see the same. So I don't like the matchup. And I think KU, only thing that I really like right now, especially if Bean can't go, is the fact that it's at home, and the fact that they're motivated, the fact that they have tremendous confidence, the fact they want to end this long losing streak. Those are like untangible factors in KU's favor. But if I look at X's and O's, I look at the team, I look at personnel, I think Kansas State has an advantage almost across the board. So if they play a good game and they're not -2 in turnovers, I expect Kansas State to win this game by 10, 14, 17 points.
If there is a situation where K-State is maybe leading but can't break away, or KU is ahead for whatever reason, first half, second half, whatever, do you think this is the kind of game where K-State may try to use a little bit more Avery Johnson? I know a couple of weeks ago, there was a lot of the fan base clamoring, get him in against Texas, use him more against Texas. They didn't really need him last week. They just massacred Baylor. But do you think that might be a curveball that K-State's willing to throw in this game to try to get that KU defense off balance?
Yeah, and I think you make a good point. I think it's a second half game. I look at Avery Johnson and the style of play, or at least the style of play they want him to do. He's almost like a closer in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, he's not the guy that you want to have out there for 60 minutes right now. But as a change of pace, as a guy who can close games in the second half by running the ball 8, 12, 13 times in 2 quarters, he's a closer. So I like to see him play in this game, because to me, if Kansas State plays their game, they're up in the second half. They're up in the third quarter, and they just want to put KU to bed. Avery Johnson's the kind of guy who could do that. So I hesitate to call it a curveball, though, guys, because I think there's enough tape out there of Avery that it's not like they're going to throw anything at KU that they haven't seen or maybe won't expect. It's about execution. It's about his ability. It's about his strength as a runner. And I just feel like if they're ahead by 14 points halfway through the third, that's almost like Avery Johnson time to me. Like, not every snap, but you bring him in on 2nd and 6 or 1st and 10 or 3rd and 1 and let him go to work. So I'm excited to see him. I think there's a lot of hype around him. I would love to see him get as many snaps as he can these next 3 or 4 games, because clearly there's something there and there's something they can build on for next season.
Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline is Paul Myerberg, who covers college football for USA Today and helps us cover the Big 12 with the Big 12 breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk every Thursday at this time. You can check out Paul's work again at USA Today and on Twitter at Paul Myerberg. Paul, some off-the-field headlines for the Big 12 this week as they, quote-unquote, clarified their three-way tiebreaker rules in the event that Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State were to end up in a three-way tie for second place in the Big 12 this year. The clarification would make Oklahoma State the tiebreaker winner on account of their wins over Oklahoma and Kansas State, even though the language of the original rule would say that the head-to-head would be thrown out because not all three teams played each other. K-State didn't play Oklahoma this year. It may be an outcome that feels right, but do you approve of the way the Big 12 went about this week?
Oh, no. Oh, no. I do not. I do not on a very strong level. But look, guys, and this is a little bit off topic, related, but not quite related to the Big 12. I've talked to a couple people this week about tiebreakers. And there's a significant, and I mean this, a realistic concern among conference administrators and commissioners that they're going to need to spend a lot of time this offseason cleaning this up. Because when you get not just to a 12-team playoff, but when you get to 16, 17, 18-team leagues without divisions, this is going to happen more and more and more. I do not approve what the Big 12 did. I think I don't want to say it's a travesty. I don't want to say it's a tragedy, but clearly this was not well thought out. They're trying to invent it on the fly, trying to fix this situation. And it's an airball on their part. So the last thing I want in the last year of the Big 12 with OU and Texas is for OU to get to the Big 12 championship game and play Texas again. So I'm hoping this all works out. But clearly this is not something that the Big 12 handled very well. I mean, that's very obvious.
What other Big 12 game are you most interested in this week? There are some matchups across the board that I think are intriguing in various kinds of ways. But what game in the Big 12, other than the Sunflower Showdown, jumps out to you as the most interesting of the week?
Yeah, I would just give two real quick. I think for one, UCF at Texas Tech. Tech, a lot to play for. I mean, still, and they're going to get the bowl eligibility. I do think UCF, what they did to Oklahoma State last week, to me, is one of the 5 weirdest results of the season. But all of us have said UCF was the team of the newcomers who could make a splash. I'd like to see them win in Lubbock and get to a bowl game, maybe get to 7 wins, maybe get to 8 in the bowl game. That's a game I'll be watching. Second one is Texas at Iowa State. Iowa State, against KU, you saw it. If they are able to get a little bit of explosiveness, they are able to not make the mistakes that can kind of trigger a team that is dealing with not a full deck because of injuries and suspension, they can give Texas a game. I really do think that. So I think this is an interesting game to keep an eye on from a defensive perspective. I think firepower-wise, they'll eventually peter out and Texas will pull away. But Iowa State at home at night in about mid-November, it's been a graveyard. So I would keep that in mind when you watch that on Saturday night.
The bad vibes Big 12 game of the week is Cincinnati, West Virginia. I know Cincinnati just got a win last week. Is this how Scott Satterfield salvages some good karma going into year 2? Or is this an opportunity for West Virginia to continue to maybe make this season the step forward that Neil Brown maybe needed to keep his job?
Yeah, this is such a sad game, guys. This is like box of Kleenex game. Honestly, watching these two teams play. I do not believe in Scott Satterfield. I don't believe in Cincinnati. You can't beat Houston and then make me believe that you actually know what you're doing. I think that West Virginia, what happened last week, Oklahoma, should be embarrassing to them. If they're a legit team that has some pride in Neil Brown, in their staff, in their program, in their state, they should respond. I think that they win this game. But again, these are two sad sack teams. Sad sack programs, and to me, if either one of these coaches is there in 2025, I might be a little bit surprised.
We're talking with Paul Myerberg. Just a couple more questions for you, Paul. First, give us your take on the Michigan suspension. Just now, Michigan is accepting it. 3-game suspension. If they beat Ohio State, Harbaugh will be back on the field in the Big Ten championship game, playing against Iowa, and they'll score 2 points. So how do you evaluate this Michigan thing that I so don't care about, and I think this is ridiculous what the Big Ten is doing?
Yeah, look, to me, when you're hey, let's just accept the suspension. That's kind of like in Law and Order when the guy's hey, I'll take man 2. You've got me for murder, I'll just take man 2, and we won't go to trial. Seems like a little bit like that. Let's just put this behind us and move on. And I get that from Michigan. I think they truly believe that they're going to be fine without Harbaugh. He's going to run practice. This won't be there on Saturday. I think this whole thing is a mess. One thing that I do want to say that I think needs to be clarified is that there's no proof that Harbaugh knew anything. You could say that, of course, he did, but nothing really tying him to it. So I think this whole thing is a mess from top to bottom. There's no right answer. It's a black eye for college football. But I am looking forward. It won't happen until January. I'm just looking forward to putting this whole thing behind us because it's been avoidable from the start. From Michigan, from the Big Ten, from the NCAA, this whole thing never should have spiraled and gotten to the place where we are right now.
Cooper Beebe is up for the Outland Trophy award. Should he be a finalist?
I think so. Look, I don't like to think that these are lifetime achievement awards. But again, like, this is a dude who has been a high-level all-conference guy for years, right? I mean, I think he's going to be a 3-time all-conference guy. He's a 2-time guy. So I'm good with it. And I think you look at the combination of factors that you want to see in an Outland guy. It's not just your own PFF score, which I think a lot of people focus on, or how many knockdowns you have. It's whether you play on a good team, whether you're a captain, whether you're a leader, whether you've produced across your career. So I got no problem with it all. I don't know if people do. I think Cooper Beebe is very deserving. And you know what? Like, to me, it is almost a career award because now you're an Outland finalist. You go on the wall somewhere in Manhattan. I think that's meaningful for him based on the way he's played across his entire career.
Real quick, Paul, we don't have any games on the schedule this week that are just absolutely god awful. So I was going to ask a slightly different garbage pick this week. Who's the next coach nationally who's getting fired?
Oh, you know what? I'm hearing a lot about Dave Aranda. And I know that's crazy because Dave Aranda's 2 years removed from 12-2 and looked like he was really going to be a guy. He wasn't going to stay at Baylor because he was going to go to, I don't know, Michigan or Oregon or something like that. So that's really surprising to me. But if you had to ask me right now, I would say Aranda. I'm not going to count a Holgerson because I think that's low-hanging fruit. I would keep an eye on Aranda, not just in Big 12, but nationally. If they peter out the rest of the season and they're 4-8 or 3-9, I do think that he's going to lose his job. So I would keep an eye on that one in the next 14 days.
Last thing I got for you, Paul. I know you're a New York guy. You got to tell me, what streets are you on right now? Are we in Manhattan? Are we in Brooklyn?
Man.
Where are we at, man? Because I love New York, so I need to know.
Okay, I'm in Manhattan right now. And the only reason I'm in Manhattan is because I live in Brooklyn. I got a doctor's appointment. So I'm here. I'm just hanging out. There's cop cars going by. This guy is sleeping on the street.
What streets? I know the streets well. What do we got? What street and avenue?
I'm on 84th, East 84th Street between Park and Lexington Avenue.
Okay.
So I'm like in kind of a hoity-toity place. It's like this doctor's office that's like in an apartment building on the ground floor. It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice, and it's a beautiful day, guys. It's like 62 degrees. I got a baseball hat on. I'm enjoying life right now.
Paul, we appreciate it. You're the absolute best, my friend.
Thank you, guys. Let's talk next week.
Yeah, he's right. Just west.
He made a Law and Order
was...
reference. I feel like he's on a shoot.
I thought he's just east of Central Park.
I thought he was in an ambulance.
Yeah. No, he's 62nd is when Central Park starts. It goes all the way up to 120th. Man, good stuff. Coming up next, we'll talk a little Royals baseball. football from Bowen Glaze Stadium. Hayden taking on Holton. Care Paravel taking on Linden. You got a lot of good stuff. 6 local teams playing today, or tomorrow, beg your pardon. So that should be a lot of fun tomorrow night. You can get the recaps for every one of them at the Kansas High School Scoreboard Show coming up at 10 o'clock afterwards, right here on 580 WIBW. So that's what we got going on tomorrow. Just a 2-hour show tomorrow from 2 to 4. Then we got K-State men's hoops. Then we got high school football. Then we got the Kansas High School Scoreboard Show. And then Saturday, we got the Sunflower Showdown. And then Monday, we got Chiefs Eagles. That's what's going on. So that is the schedule. So we'll talk with Rick Peterson coming up at the bottom of the hour. We'll hear from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes in the 4 o'clock hour. Mitch Holthus joins us in the 5 o'clock hour. There's a lot going on, all right? A lot going on. There's also a lot going on at One Royal Way. And I don't know if it's really anything going on that's good. But if you remember the last time that we heard from the Royals, they told us that there were 2 sites to play future baseball games. One in Clay County up north, and one in the East Village, downtown Kansas City. Not North Kansas City downtown. And John Sherman said at the end of the summer. Now, as we all know, the end of the summer is not end of August. Right? We know that. We think end of summer at August. At least I do. Maybe you guys don't. I think June, July, August, summer. September 1st, it's fall. It's not how the calendar works. Maybe this was their way of, making it work. I don't know about you, but I do know that November 16th is not the end of the summer. Okay? We are in full-on legit winter here coming up. Sam McDowell of the Kansas City Star and the Star have learned that there's another site potentially for the Kansas City Royals. And this was way back when this was talked about almost a year ago about the old Kansas City Star building on the south side of I-70. Everybody knows when you drive through it, especially if you go on 670, you go under Bartle Hall and all that kind of stuff. And then you look to your right, and it's the big glass building. They're going to put the stadium there. But everybody's like, there's not enough room. It's kind of tight. We want to go East Village or, and then all of a sudden, Clay County and, North downtown Kansas City, all that kind of stuff. But now there's talk about putting the stadium there. It doesn't really concern us Topekans about where the stadium is.
Unless they're planning to build it in my backyard. Yes, correct.
You know what I mean? Like, if I lived in Kansas City and you're a taxpayer and all that kind of stuff, yes, much bigger deal on where it is. If I got to go to Clay County to go north of the river to watch the Royals, sweet. If I got to go to the East Village, okay. If I got to go where the Kansas City Star building is, fine. If I got to go out to where the K is, so be it. Doesn't really affect us because we got to travel an hour anyway, right? Now, maybe it affects us because, you know what? It's the stadium. A good place, right? We want to. The Royals need to make it the correct way. So there's some that doesn't really concern us outside of the sheer fact that they've handled this so bad. It makes me wonder, is this how they do all of their business? You know what I mean? That's what makes me kind of go, you handled this so poorly. So poorly. And there's a lot of stuff involved in this. Frank White seems to be angry still at the Royals, and he's telling everybody one thing, and the Royals are having to deal with that. And then, of course, I don't know what the Royals want, and that's a problem. Because here's what I've come to find out about life. If you're just honest, it's the best way to do things, okay? Tell me what you want, Royals. And that way I can tell you whether or not going to Clay County, East Village, or what? Like, what is it that you want? You need to have a list of things that are the most important, and the number one thing is the number one thing getting taxpayer dollars. If that's it, then you go wherever you get the money. Damn the stadium, damn the entertainment district, all of that. Like, number two, is that the entertainment district? Is that what you want, Royals? You want to own your district. That's fine. I get it. You know, they keep on referencing the Battery down in Atlanta, right? Like, that's fine. I have no problem with that. You know, and everybody's talking about, oh, that's a money-making situation for, 12 months out of the year, and we can take that money and reinvest it into the team, right? I'll believe they'll reinvest money into the team.
Like how else are you going to be like the Braves? Like, we want to build a ballpark in a ballpark village like the Braves.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
you know what else the Braves are doing? Winning championships, playing deep into October. What?
Spending money.
Yes. Spending money on their young players, keeping them around for a very long time.
So that's my problem with the Royals is they don't even know what they want. Or if they do, they're doing such a bad job of trying to get that accomplished.
They have two options that will both. They have two options, two paths they could take, both of which are bad optics. They can do what they've been doing, or they can be honest. Because honestly, you touched on what they're honestly doing, and I think you're naive. Not anyone in particular, but I think it would be naive to think they're doing anything but trying to get the most public money possible.
Then that's fine. I have no problem with that.
But they don't want to admit that, because then that makes them look bad.
But then, no, you don't have to admit it, but your actions are the ones that tell me this. Because if your number one goal is to get just public money, then you grease palms, you do whatever you can to make it work. And right now, you're not doing that. Like, that's what I have a problem. If they're going to do it at the Kansas City Star location, then that tells me that all they want is a new stadium. Because there's no room to do an entertainment district. And
because the entertainment district then becomes Power and Light. Because you're right in downtown.
Yeah, they'll build a bridge. That's what they'll do. So
they'll build a big footbridge like at Iowa State.
That's why I don't know what they want. Like, if they want the entertainment district, you go North Kansas City because you got all the space in the damn world. You got so much space. You can buy up all of that. You can do anything that you want to. The one rendering had a lake there, and you can build hotels. If you want an entertainment district, you go North Kansas City downtown, whatever it is in north of the river.
KC, yeah.
That's what
Clay
you
County.
do. That's what you do. Okay. And great. Awesome. Do that. And then now what do you have to do is you got to go to Clay County and you got to beg and you got to plead and you got to say, what do we have to do to get this downtown to make this happen? Like, that's the thing that's so frustrating about how the Royals are doing this. It's like they have no clue what their objective is. And part of that is because Frank White is making this a mess. He is. He's saying it's going to be this. He's going to say this. And
he doesn't think the taxpayers should have to pony up for a new ballpark.
Well, if that's the case, then they're going to move to North Kansas City. Like, because Jackson County doesn't. See, that's the other thing, too. If it ain't going to happen in Jackson County, then why are you looking at the Kansas City Star building? I don't know if you guys know this. That's Jackson County. Like, you ain't in Wyandotte across the river. Like, you're in Jackson County. So what does it matter if it's in the East Village or if it is there? And you know what? Hey, Frank, this isn't your job. You know whose job it is to determine if the city wants or the county wants to pay for that tax? The people voting. The people voting. You don't get to speak for everybody. You get to speak for your constituents. Okay? You don't want them to do that? Put it on the bill in April, and then they can do it. This ain't a dictatorship, okay?
That's the big problem here. They want to put something on the ballot in April of next year, but there's a January deadline to do that. And if you're now looking at a third possible site that, like, in initial talks, before it felt like they had narrowed it down to one Jackson County site, but there were a couple of other places that they were looking at in Jackson County, and the old Kansas City Star building was one of those locations. And to be frank, taking money and everything else out of the equation, aesthetically, I like that location the best because it is a true downtown ballpark. Instead of, we got to stretch downtown, we got to build more downtown until we reach East Village. No, you got a real live downtown ballpark you built.
And an easy stretch into Power and Light, and it works out great.
Yes, that would be my preference, all things being equal.
But the only thing you're doing there is you're building a stadium. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And so that, like, I would almost think that would be a positive, because if this ownership group is just about, we want to build a better ballpark, we need a new ballpark, we're concerned about the ballpark experience for our fans, that is our top priority. We want to put the best ballpark in baseball for our best fans in baseball. Then I would rather them be more focused in on that than be focused in on, we're going to own the land around it, and we're going to build a Shake Shack, and we're going to build we're going to bring Q39 over here, and we're going to have $15 beers at this nice little beer garden, little brewery. We're going to have a little boulevard thing we're going to do, and it's going to be all us. We own it. We generate the money from that. And then the question will be, do they reinvest that in the team, or is that just to line their pockets? At least with the ballpark, and only the ballpark, there's no artifice there, right? This is just a baseball thing. This is just a new stadium. I could get with that. I could really get behind that. But it's the idea of the ballpark village as this necessity, this thing we have to have. If we're going to be competitive, we have to be able to have something like the Battery in Atlanta, where ownership invests in the real estate, ownership has tenants, ownership makes money, which, okay, wonderful. If you want to generate revenue, great. Put that revenue into the baseball club, because no matter where you put this ballpark, nobody's going to come to it. This is not Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come if you put a baseball team worth a damn inside it.
That's exactly what I was thinking, because when you think of the teams that have these, we're talking baseball. You can't put the football teams in here because the NFL is untouchable. That's a different beast. Baseball, the teams that have these districts, you think of the Battery in Atlanta. Absolutely gigantic fan base, gigantic metropolis city, good or bad, people are going to be there because people are going to go to games, good or bad. Wrigleyville, Chicago, they've got one.
San Diego.
Lower downtown in Denver.
Lodo in Denver. St. Louis, Ballpark Village in St. Louis, really cool. It is right next to it's right behind the outfield walls. St. Louis Cardinals fans, even when they stink, they're going, and which is not very often. It was like this year and then like 25 years ago.
Yeah, they still get 30,000 a game.
And they are going to go and they're going to spend time in the Ballpark Village. Y'all seen the Royals attendance numbers last couple years? And that's not, there are going to be people who don't go to games who are going to go because they love Johnny Cause Kansas City edition or whatever, like whatever buildings they're going to put in there. Like, there are people who are going to go just because they're going to go. Not enough to make it worth it, though. Those are worth it because people are there before or after games. That's why the NFL ones are just printing money, because you're selling out every NFL stadium no matter what. Baseball's not the same way. Baseball cities with crappy teams are especially not that way. You can't fill your stadium. You want to fill 14 bars and hotels? That's not going to happen.
Look at some of the stadiums that are like the emptiest in baseball when their team isn't very good. Like the Reds rejuvenated their fans a little bit this past year, but Great American Ballpark was empty. PNC Park in Pittsburgh, empty. Those are not traditionally downtown ballparks. You know what is a downtown ballpark? Coors Field in Denver, and they still do great. They knock it out of the park in attendance, even though the Rockies were the second worst team in the National League.
And that's the hope, is that, hey, if you put it downtown, people will show up.
We're going to get 30K in the building anyway, regardless of whether we win 100 or lose 100. And maybe that doesn't quite work in Kansas City, because Kansas City is not the transplant population. Like, Denver will draw a lot of visiting fans because a lot of people have moved to Colorado. It's more populated than that Kansas City area. Can Kansas City count on that? Can Kansas City count on when they've got the White Sox in town for a 3-game series? Can they count on all the people who've moved from Chicago to Kansas City filling that ballpark? Because Colorado can certainly count on all the Chicago transplants in their city coming to see the Cubs and the White Sox.
Yep.
But I don't know if the Royals can do that. So it's a bit of a gambit, but it all leads, the ballpark village stuff, being downtown, it all kind of leads to the same place, which is we got to find a way to get more people in our ballpark, even if our team stinks, because we really don't know, aren't quite sure how to get from point A to point B with regards to the baseball team stinking or not stinking anymore.
And that's the thing. Like, we don't know what they want to do. Do they even know what they want to do? And if they do know what they want to do, they're doing it so poorly. This does not affect us here in Shawnee County, Douglas County, the counties around here. Okay. Our Jackson County, if you will. It doesn't factor in.
Build the new ballpark in Holton.
Yeah. Like it doesn't.
There's plenty of room.
There is.
It doesn't affect
Build all kind of a baseball village.
us outside of where are we just going to go to watch the Royals play? Like, that's the thing. They've just made a mess of this. That's what's so sad. And I just.
But the thing that does affect fans outside of the Kansas City Metro is now, like, if you are, Joe Blow from Topeka, and you're like, man, all this stadium talk. You know what I would love? Winning talk. You got John Sherman. You sure got a lot of energy to talk about crumbling concrete and building permits and tax breaks. You know what I would love? Break me off a winner. Give me to 70 wins. Give me a team that is competitive until training camp, because you can spend to get there. You can spend time and energy to get me there, and you're not.
I don't know if that has anything to do with I think we know that if the Royals win, people show up. Like, that was proven in 14, 15, 16, 17. I think the hope is that you get a winner, because people are going to go to the new stadium to check it out. Like, you're going to go just check it out.
Yeah.
At least once. But
what do you do for the other 100 or 75 games in a year?
If you got a winner and it's a new stadium, look what happens. That thing will be packed. New stadium plus you've got a winner. Like, that's the thing. So
I don't disagree with that at all. I'm just saying there's a whole lot more attention on one of those things than the other.
And I am the first one to tell you that this is the off season for me that will determine John Sherman and kind of how this team is going to go.
Yeah.
Right, you've got to spend money, dude. You spent like $80 million last year.
I'm with you.
You were bottom 5 in payroll.
Fully agree.
Go spend money.
JJ Piccolo's talked a lot about, we need starting pitching. Go make a splash.
Yeah.
Go show people you're serious. Because when you did that in the year they made the Shields trade, was that 13 or 12?
13.
You did that in 13, that statement of intent, it not only does it go over great in your fan base, it goes over great in your clubhouse.
Yeah, we're fighting. We're going to do that. Yeah, because it was 13 and 14, and then, of course, they ended up winning it.
We're not showing up for another development year to lose 90 to 100 games again. You get people fired up going into spring training. Give that a try.
Yeah, that's what's so poor about what the Royals have done. Put it in any one of the locations, but y'all just don't know, apparently, how it's done. And I'm...
Give your fans a reason to be invested in this.
That's what, if I was a Jackson County taxpayer right now or a Clay County taxpayer, I'd just be like, now I know why your team sucks, because nobody knows how to run a business. This has been handled so poorly.
I would say these tax dollars better go to that 10-year extension for Bobby Witt.
Yeah, you could probably get that to pass.
Yeah,
you could probably get like a 1/10 of a cent tax increase for the purposes of funding Bobby Witt Jr.'s super mega extension. That might pass.
Wow. Yeah. Oh man, this new stadium. I don't know. The Aaron Nola sales tax, though. That's I don't know, honey. That's every 5th day we can go to the game.
Listen, all I'm saying is that's change you can believe in.
I'm all right with that. And then you got the Chiefs, who.
No one's making out better here than the Chiefs.
If they ask, hey, Jackson County, can we get $2 billion? Jackson County would be like, do you want it in 20s or 50s?
And if they said no, they'd say, okay, Mr. Governor, make this happen.
No, they would. They would say this. Hey, Kansas, what's up?
Wow.
You up?
Yeah.
Hey, Kansas, you up? And Kansas is going to be like, quick, get the phone, honey. What do you need? Well, where do you want to build? We will decimate anything.
You can right now, if you got a bird's eye view of the Truman Sports Complex and you got a bird's eye view of Kauffman Stadium, you can point to like what bars will be at what parts of the stadium. Like home plate right now, that's going to be Kelsey's Kitchen circa 2028.
They need to have that home plate like part of a bar. Like
I'm sure it will
that
be.
location where you can stand.
It's going to be called Sluggers with 3 R's.
Yeah.
And they're going to have the big statue of the mascot out front, and they're going to serve you $16 beers.
Nah, they're going to do something a little classier than that. Maybe like George's Pine Tar Lounge.
I'd be on board with that. Coming up next, we got a little either or over under. Tonight, Bengals or the Ravens?
Give me the Bengals. Give me the Bengals.
Spread's still 3.5.
Yep.
And the Bengals are really banged up. That's the only thing that gives me pause. I think everything being equal.
I think Bengals
P-A-U-S-E.
usually give you pause.
Okay, let me ask you this.
All right, guys.
Nice.
Thanks.
Nice. That
Oh,
was a good
now
one.
you're the friggin' Wonder Twins over there
I
ganging up
love
on
that.
me.
Pause. The Bengals do give you. That was
I mean, they do.
Brendan gets stuff. Let me ask you this then. Okay. So you're taking the Bengals. Who are you taking?
I'd probably lean toward the Bengals too.
I'm going to take the Ravens. Who, if you're a Chiefs fan, do you want to win?
You want the Ravens to win.
I think so too.
Yeah, you want the Ravens to win. You want to keep the Bengals out of the playoffs.
I do. I think if they lose the playoffs, I think they're like the Bills. I think if they lose this game, they are done.
Because we said yesterday, like the Ravens right now, they're the number one contender for the Chiefs World Heavyweight Championship. However, they're getting in. Like they're gonna make the playoffs.
Right.
So if it's up to you, do you want your top two contenders to be fighting you? You want it to be a triple threat match, or you want to keep it one-on-one?
No. If the Bengals lose, they will be 5-5 with 7 games to go. You got to win 5 games. You got to get to 10 wins, and 10 wins. So if they lose today, they're 5-5. Are they going to get 5 wins from the Steelers, Jags, Colts, Vikings, Steelers, Chiefs, and Browns? And
That's
they're
a lot of names.
And they're 5-5. Like they lose today. I don't know if they're beating. If they go 5-2 the rest of that way, and at 5-2, that's at minimum to get into the playoffs. Like if you win 10 games, you might lose some tiebreakers. 9 is not going to get you in the playoffs. The Bengals need to win this game.
Yeah,
They
do.
need to win this game because what says, okay, the Bengals lose this game? They're 5-5. Do they have the capacity to go 6-1 the rest of the way? After going 5-5, even with Joe Burrow, I don't think so.
I think they do, but I mean, you don't have any margin for error. Like, they can lose this game and still be alive for the playoffs, but they have no margin of error.
No, they got to go 6-1.
Yeah.
I don't know if 5-5 gets you there or 5-2 gets you there.
All right, either or. You get Lamar Jackson, but he can't run, or Patrick Mahomes, but he can't throw.
Oh, give me Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, Lamar's a much better passer than Mahomes is a runner.
Trying to think of who an alternative to Mahomes would be then.
Like if Mahomes can't throw, then you're essentially okay. He's a running back or he's a single wing quarterback, and like he had no vision.
Kyler, you get Lamar, but he can't run, or Kyler, but he can't throw.
I'm still going Lamar.
I think I still go Lamar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just really think highly of Lamar as a passer.
The only one that I would
He's better pass than he gets credit for.
The only one that I would take over that would be prime Michael Vick. Or maybe Steve Young. Man, Steve could run.
Yeah.
Yeah, Young's probably a good one there.
Fran Tarkin. Randall Cunningham.
Yeah.
Man, look at Randall's stats. He was ahead of his time.
He was.
All right. I'll do an either or too. I just saw this one floating across the Twitter timeline. So this is an either or. You can have the Jimbo Fisher buyout.
Yes. Choose that one. Yes. I want that.
$76 million.
Yes.
The condition is you can never watch or talk about sports again.
All sports?
All sports.
Can I play sports?
You can't watch them. You can't talk about them.
Yeah, give me the $76 million. I'll go play golf.
You can't talk about it while you're playing, though.
I can't talk about what I'm playing?
No. If you can't talk about sports, you can't say, I'm going to hit the green here. That's talking about a sport. You can't do it.
Okay, that'd be very peaceful then when I'm playing golf.
What's the other alternative?
That is the alternative.
Oh,
you can continue your life as you know it and not have the Jimbo buyout.
No, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I don't think I'd do it either.
I wouldn't do it.
I'll take the $76 million. I'll find a way.
What am I going to do with $76 million?
Everything.
But here's the thing about being able to do everything. I don't want to do anything.
You don't have to do anything. You can just sit there.
I have one interest.
If I got $76 million, and I said this too when we were talking about the Jimbo getting bought out. I said, look, you'd never see me again. If you bought out my contract and said, here's $76 million and you don't have to work, you don't have to coach football. Oh, you would absolutely never see me again. But if I've got all this time on my hands, you know what I want to do? Watch sports. That's my favorite thing. I wouldn't be able to do my favorite thing. Then what good would all that time on my hands be? What good $76 million if I can't go to all the sporting venues I've never been to that I want to go to?
Well, you can go there. You just can't talk about it. Can you
can't watch?
Can you watch it in person?
No.
No, it says you cannot watch.
I'd find a way.
You'd find a way to make it work.
Wait, hold on a second. Am I allowed to watch my son?
No.
Well, then yeah, I can't do that.
Is he playing a sport?
Yeah, I can't do that.
Texter from the 785, it tells us, ask your wives that question. I will not be posing this theoretical to.
Yeah, I will not be.
No, mine doesn't count because my kids, they love it. My son loves hitting the T-ball. He loves shooting baskets, so I have to watch that. So, yeah. So I have to rescind that.
If your son pulled out the Nerf hoop, you'd have to say, sorry, son. I got to go to the other room.
Yeah, I know.
I got a book I got to go read.
I can't do that. I can't do that.
I'm going to get really into building those ships and those little bottles.
Yeah, I got to do Harry Potter. Actually, I'm going to have to watch Harry Potter. But Quidditch is the thing, right? Quidditch?
That's a sport. No Harry Potter.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, people play it.
Nerds, mostly.
I'm pretty sure KU won a national championship in Quidditch a couple years ago.
Okay,
Boy,
a lot of
where's
titles,
that banner?
It's in the trash, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I could.
They used to play in the field across the street from the newspaper newsroom. So I'd be sitting there in the afternoon working, watching a bunch of dudes running around playing Quidditch.
For a long time, I thought Quidditch was bocce.
It was Dave Damashek who posted that hypothetical. And he said later, I'd say yes to the $76 million in the moment, but as big a goober as it makes me, the rest of my days would be better defined as merely surviving rather than truly living. That's a fact.
No, if I didn't have kids, I'd take the money, but there's nothing better than watching my son hit a baseball off a bat or off a tee or shooting a hoops. Or
What good is having money if I can't put a band down on the Falcons to cover against the Commanders?
you're not talking about it. You're not watching it. You still
Yeah, but I
do
want
that.
to. I want to watch
You
it. I
can
bet
still
on
do
it.
that. You can put a lot of bands down on it.
I want to be able to watch it.
If it was a portion of that, if it were 10% of it, but I had to give up one sport, then okay, let's negotiate.
Oh no, give up one sport? Easily yes. Give up two sports? Easily yes. I could do
man.
without baseball. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I'm so sad I had to give up race walking.
Yeah.
So
Or does it have to
long,
be a sport you care about?
so long, sprint football.
Coming up next, we're gonna talk all things sub-state football with Rick Peterson.
Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline for this week's Lewis Toyota High School Whip Round is the one, the only Rick Peterson. He covers all things prep sports and Washburn sports for topsports.news. Head to the website for all the best coverage of all of our teams from around Topeka and Shawnee County. You can also find Pistol on Twitter, where his handle is @Peterson_Rick. Pistol, can you believe basketball practice started this week? How about that?
Yeah, I'm already overwhelmed. Yeah, it's, at this time of year, I'm not sure. I usually have 3 county teams still playing football. So you got that on top of all the winter practice starting, and it's a busy time.
It is. It is a very busy time, but we do have plenty of football to get to. We'll get to some end of the season thoughts for a couple teams that were eliminated last week coming up in a bit. But first, Pistol, let's start with the teams that are still alive, and we will start in Class 6A. The 11-0 Washburn Rural Junior Blues. They are in action at home against the 10-1 Derby Panthers coming up tomorrow. That will be our Lewis Toyota High School football game of the week. What an impressive win for Rural over Wichita East last week, Pistol. I know that game got out of hand late, and when East suffered an injury to their quarterback, Deontay Mitchell, that obviously changed the complexion of the second half. But still, the way J.C. Heim ran the ball at the end of that game, the toughness that defense showed, I still thought that was an impressive win, even with that extra context for the Junior Blues.
Yeah, and yes, Wichita East lost a great player, but I still thought that Washburn Rural had that game in hand because they were making so many great defensive stops. So, I think they were in good position to make that defensive stop when he went out. And then, of course, they went ahead and did that with him out. And then they just took control, which is what you like to see of your team down the stretch. And that's what Washburn Rural did.
We know how good this Washburn Rural defense is. They have always been stellar under Steve Bueller. I mean, as Dan always says, you don't get a nickname for your defense unless you're pretty darn special, and the Wild Bunch clearly is. But how impressed have you been, Pistol, with what they've been able to do over the last couple of weeks against some really challenging teams in Junction City and Wichita East?
Yeah, I mean, they set things up. Okay, you talked about saying that defenses don't get nicknames unless they're really good. Well, you've heard me say probably 50 times that defense wins championships.
Yep.
And that's what's happening right now. Their defense is playing so well that it sets things up on the offense and the special teams and everything else for success.
This Derby team that Rural is facing coming up tomorrow night, they do not allow a whole lot of ton of yardage on the ground. I believe they're number 2 in Class 6A in yards allowed on the ground per game this season. Rural, we know, likes to run it, that RPO-heavy offense that includes you got to be effective in the run game to set up some of their passing concepts. So how important or how big of a role do the likes of Branton DeWeese, Titan Osborne, Calvin Hayes, how important do they have to be in this game for the Washburn Rural offense?
Well, I think they basically have to do what they've done all year. I mean, Rural's done a good job of mixing things up and having a balanced attack. And, if Derby comes out and just immediately stuffs the running game, then I would see Coach Lotnick and Washburn Rural maybe going to some, little flare passes out of the backfield and things like that just to get those guys involved.
We're talking to Rick Peterson from TopSports.News. It is our Lewis Toyota High School whip round here on 580 Sports Talk. Pistol joining us via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. You can go find him on Twitter at Peterson_Rick, and you can go check out all of his great work covering our local teams over at TopSports.News. Another team home in the city this weekend, Pistol, the Hayden Wildcats, also undefeated. And they get the Holton Wildcats. 2 years in a row, these two teams have matched up in both the regular season and then the sub-state round of the playoffs as well. Holton is just 7-4, but that is a team with their head coach, Brooks Barta, with the system they run. You can never count them out in any game. This, to me, is a challenging matchup for Hayden, Pistol. If for no other reason, then it's hard to beat the same team in 1 year twice.
It is, but they haven't forgotten last year when they got beat by Holton twice.
True.
So, they're just trying to turn the tables and, hey, the Wildcats got a huge boost last week with the return of Finn Dunshee. I had been hearing that he might try to come back, but you really couldn't count on that till he was in uniform, and he was in uniform last week, had like 40 yards on 4 carries and a touchdown, and I expect him to get a lot more of a workload this week. I don't know if they'll use him on defense. He's also very, very good on defense. That was a big thing to get him back last week.
And that's exactly what I wanted to get to next, Pistol, is do you think that this team is, because they've been banged up, Jet Wallmeyer's been banged up, Finn Dunshee obviously missed a bunch of time this season. Do you feel like they are at a point health-wise, from what you know so far, that they can, still be essentially at full strength as they get to potentially their final 2 games here?
Yeah, I don't think they'll be at full strength, but I think they'll be at fuller strength, than they have been, because they were really beat up for a while, and not just those guys we mentioned, some other guys. So I think they're in better shape physically they've been. And like I said, in my mind, Finn Dunshee's just such a big part of that team that even if he's not completely 100%, just him being out there, I think gives them a spark.
We'll revisit this next question next week if we need to, should Hayden win coming up tomorrow night. But on the other side of the bracket, western side of 3A, Cheney and Andale, maybe 2 of the best teams in the entire state, regardless of class. Cheney beat Andale. We know about how good Andale has been over the last several years before they lost to Cheney this season. How do you think Hayden stacks up with those other teams in 3A?
Well, I wish I saw them more. I just don't see Andale and Cheney to know. I know if you if you listen to people talk about them, particularly people in that area, shoot, they should be able to beat the Chiefs. But until I see them in person and see how good they are, all I know is we got a team up here that's 11-0 and really, really good and really, really strong every single year. So I like Hayden's chances to compete against anybody. I'm not ready to go out on a limb and, pick them to win the state at this point anyway. But I would compete. I would pick them to compete because that's what Bill Arnold's teams do.
We're chatting with Rick Peterson from TopSports.News. It's the Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around here on 580 Sports Talk. Sub-state week for state football coming up tomorrow. Down in 8-man Division I, Pistol Care Paravel. Their phenomenal run continues. They've got a big challenge coming up this week when they take on Linden, a Linden Tigers team that is undefeated on the year. I know several places have them as the top team in the class. No, Cal Preps, among other places, have them ranked there. This Care Paravel team played Linden earlier in the season. They did lose, but at 58-30, that's a lot closer than a lot of games Linden has played this year. What do you make of this matchup with the two teams facing off for the second time?
Well, I mean, Linden has to be the favorite. They're undefeated. They beat them once. They're just a great program. But I think if you're Care Paravel, you just go in, just empty the playbook, just don't feel any pressure. The pressure's on the Linden. The pressure's not on you, and just give it everything you got. Hey, that's a formula that's worked for them pretty good in 9 of their 11 games.
And two, I think it's important to note, and you can tell me if you think this is off base, Pistol, but I feel like this is a much different Care Paravel team than they were even a month, certainly 2 months ago.
Well, certainly, yeah. I mean, didn't that Axtell loss might have come in the very first game, if I remember right?
Correct.
Yeah. And then Linden was fairly early. It was early in district play. So, yes. And I think Jace Pavlik's just gotten better and better. I like a lot of their people up front and their people on defense. I think they can compete. And all you want to do, particularly on the road, is and when you're the underdog, give yourself a chance going into the fourth quarter. Hey, 8-man, if you're within 21 points going into the fourth quarter, you can still pull out a win. So I think that's what they want to do. Just stay in the hunt as long as they possibly can, and maybe catch lightning in a bottle late.
Before we get to some final thoughts on Seaman and Shawnee Heights, I did want to ask Pistol, whether it's a team or a game involving a team from the county, whether it is somewhere else in the state, what game interests you the most, or are you most fascinated in the potential outcome tomorrow night?
Well, Derby Rural, no doubt about it. That's the game that I've been talking about and have been asked about by so many people. And every single time I say I see that as a complete toss-up. It would not surprise me if either team wins. From a rural standpoint, you have to hope that that being at home might give you a little bit of an edge. And I think last basketball season might give rural a little bit of an edge. But I do think that it's a complete toss-up.
We're talking to Rick Peterson, TopSports.News. He covers all things local sports for TopSports.News. Let me get that out cleanly. He joins us here this time every Thursday for our Lewis Toyota High School Whip Around. All right, I did want to get to some final thoughts here, Pistol, on the two teams from the city that came up just short last week to see their seasons come to a close in the sectional round. Let's start with Seaman in the 5A East. They lose to Mill Valley, which has won 4 consecutive 5A state championships. And look, I know the final score was kind of outlandish, 72-42. It's not easy to put up 42 points on that Mill Valley team. So even though you still lost by 30, I feel like that's a pretty impressive outing and a pretty impressive fight to the very end for the Seaman Vikings.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing about Seaman is they lost some games early that they didn't think they should have lost, or very, very close games. And they got hot when you're supposed to get hot in October and early November. And they've shown they can throw the ball against anybody. They got a lot of those really good players coming back. So I think they walk, they're 6-5, but that's a very good 6-5.
As for the Shawnee Heights Thunderbirds, they come up short against a Blue Valley Southwest team, and we knew they were good. We talked about that last week on the show, Pistol. That's a team that had crazy offensive numbers, crazy defensive numbers, and plays in maybe the best league in the entire state. 38-10. I know Shawnee Heights fought hard in that game, and I think this should go without saying, but that does not, a lopsided final game of the year should not take away from what a year it was for Jason Swift's group.
Great year. And I talked to Jason on Monday, and I think he feels that way. I think that senior group that they had, like, I don't know, right around 30 seniors, just played their hearts out and had a really great year. First time they've won 8 games since 1994. I thought it was, and I know I hate to take any of this too seriously, but they got 2 first-teamers on the all-UKC team. I think they should have got more. They got so many good players on that team, and I know that's a very good league and a very top-heavy league, but they really had some talent on that team.
Okay, I'm glad I was not the only one who felt that, Pistol, because I was going through the all-UKC team the other day, and I saw 1 defensive lineman, first team, 1 second team, and a couple honorable mentions. That's one of the best defensive lines we saw all year, and we saw a lot of teams. I respect it's a tough process. I know that's a good league, but that felt a little short-changey to that Shawnee Heights team, especially on defense.
Yeah. Shawnee Heights, so I'll go ahead out on a limb and say Shawnee Heights will have more than 2 players on the TS. See, my dogs are really mad about that. They thought that they're really letting their feelings be known about that UKC team. But no, I tell you what, I think Shawnee Heights will have better representation when the TSA and all Shawnee County team comes out. I can't guarantee you that because I'm the one that does it. So
Rick Peterson does a better job than absolutely anybody covering all of our local teams for topsports.news. Go check out the website for the best local sports coverage. Make sure you're following Pistol as well on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. Pistol, you got a couple of options. Where are you heading tomorrow night?
I'll be with you. I really want, and I got Todd Fertig over at Hayden, so we got our teams covered. But and we sent him to Chase County last week, so we've got our teams covered. But I really am interested and intrigued and all those other words in that Derby Washboro matchup.
It should be a blast coming up tomorrow night. Pistol, we'll see you there. Thanks so much for the time.
Okay.
That's Rick Peterson from topsports.news. Shout out to the pups.
Dogs know, man.
They do.
They always know.
Or Pistol getting fired up. They're getting fired up too. I don't blame them.
They say you've been on the phone long enough, Dad.
That'll do it for the 3 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk. Coming up to lead off the 4 o'clock hour, we'll hear from Andy Reid. We've got What Is Wrong With You, and we'll hear from Patrick Mahomes too. That's all next hour right here on 580 Sports Talk.
Hour number 3, 580 Sports Talk, coming to you on this Thursday. Jake Levon, Brandon Dworzinski, Dan Lucero with you.
If you are listening to us on 580 AM or FM 104.9 or listening online at 580WIBW.com, you have not noticed anything different about today's show or noticed how handsome I am. However, if you are watching the stream...
I noticed.
Thank you. I appreciate that. If you're watching the stream on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel...
It's been a nightmare.
You may notice some things like Dan is approximately 1.5 pixels. Jake on my screen is currently just a black box. There is nothing there.
Yeah.
I was told, he's back. And he is
there we go.
even fewer pixels than Dan is right now. We're doing our best. Internet's been kind of wonky in the studio today. You can still listen to us via the YouTube. I was told that my picture is fairly clear, but I also don't know because I'm on my own computer, so I can't really tell. So
Yeah, over on my computer, I look great.
that's good. Good for you.
I look great.
I'm happy for you.
But
like
if
the
nobody else
comments.
can see that, I believe we had one YouTube commenter tell me I looked like a Muppet on an acid trip earlier today, which,
Not even sure exactly what that means, but it sounds funny.
yeah, I mean,
Sounds provocative.
yeah, that's,
Gets the people going.
it
Yeah.
is certainly not anything I've ever been told I looked like before. So it was the first time, I suppose.
Which would you rather be called or told? You look like a Muppet on an acid trip or you look like Fulton's dad?
Hey, I met Fulton's dad a couple weeks ago.
I met him at a Chiefs game once.
Did he look like me?
Not
No, he's older.
Not
Okay.
really, yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
a lot older.
Yeah, just checking.
I'm going to go ahead and say I'd rather look like Fulton's dad than a Muppet on acid.
As long as they acknowledge I look older than Fulton, that was the important thing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that you looked younger than him.
I prefer to have my seniority recognized.
All right, fair enough. You didn't want to look 25 again?
I mean, I look pretty good for how old I am.
For
I
redacted.
think, for redacted years old.
I've got about 10 months before my age is redacted. I am 29.
No, then you just start celebrating anniversaries of your 29th birthday.
I turned the big 4-0 in July.
Hey.
Though I will say this, a babysitter thought I looked 33.
Nice.
Shaved half a dozen years off.
How about that? Said, apparently you don't see this wisdom and knowledge in these eyes.
And then you were never permitted to hire that babysitter again.
No, she's actually been hired a few different times. She's been good.
And every time it's a year younger.
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. LeBon, you look 32 today.
Like, no, I look like I got hit by a bus. But hey, the last couple of nights been solid. Kids sleeping through the night. Had one little one go through a growth spurt, no question about it. That's always interesting.
Your kids are already both like 5'10" and
my
3
kids-
years old.
My kids
so-
are very, very tall. Yes.
Yeah.
I had somebody even say, "Is your kid slow?" And I was like, "Damn! Just because he's big doesn't mean he's,
When I was a little kid, people
Man.
used to ask when I was 2, my mom has told me people asked if I was 5. They're like, oh, is he starting
Yeah.
kindergarten?
Yeah.
No.
I get that. We get that a lot. We even went to a place and I was like, well, he's 3. And they're like, there's no way he's 3. And I'm like, are you really going to argue over this? It was the Spider-Man exhibit in Kansas City.
Were you trying to get in for free?
Yes.
Was it like kids 3 and under getting free?
I'm not trying. He is
Got to pull out.
3 and under. He's 3. There's no trying to get, like, if it was 2, that would be me trying to get in for
Yeah.
free.
Yeah, that's something I don't know anything about.
Big day today, though. My daughter is fully potty trained, though. So big shout out to my daughter.
That's big.
They had her potty training party today.
You could have
Wow.
warned me. I could have played Pitbull for that.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
that might have been
Now, the
Pitbull
last
worthy.
2 weeks we've been dealing with potty training, and guys, it's a big deal here in the Levon house.
I bet.
Big deal in the Levon house.
I bet it is.
Excited about that. Still obviously need a diaper at nighttime. But we'll deal with that.
Obviously.
But she's not quite 2.5 fully potty trained. It's a big day. Dan's spilling drinks. He's so excited
I am.
for me.
I am spilling stuff.
Fantastic.
Now you're going to blink and she's going to be off to college.
No. No, we got a lot more growing pains to deal with there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm just excited about that. You know what else I'm excited about?
The Chiefs are back.
The Chiefs
Yeah.
playing Monday night, and we get to hear from Big Red. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes met with the media today. We will hear from Patrick Mahomes coming up at the bottom of the hour. Mitch Holthus in the 5 o'clock hour. But Andy Reid met with the media today, gave a little bit more insight on the wide receivers, the health, which, by the way, good for the Kansas City Chiefs. Taking on the Eagles. Here's what Andy Reid had to say to the media today.
All right. Really no injuries to talk about. Everybody's going to practice today, so we're good there. Look forward to the challenge of playing the Eagles. Good football team. Best record in the NFL, I believe, right now, and well-deserved. Coach Sirianni's done a good job. They got good players. Their offense is tough. Brian does a heck of a job coordinating that thing, and then Sean does a great job with that defense. So they're playing good football right now. Look forward to coming here to Arrowhead and playing the game. And it should be electric, and I know our fans will welcome them in. So anyways, with that, time's yours.
Andy, just what is it like just going up against that organization you know so well?
Yeah, well, it's a well-run organization. Howie Roseman has done a nice job. I'm so close with a lot of those people there, so they do a nice job. Jeffrey Lurie starts with him, so you're familiar with it. But again, once the game gets on, then it's the game. So you're not worried about all that stuff.
Coach, coming out of the Miami game, you actually got the bye week. What were some of the biggest focal points that you wanted to focus on or work on leading to Monday's game?
There were smaller things. I'm not gonna get into all that, but we worked on a few things. So we have plenty of room to improve. So I've talked about that. The penalties, we've got to continue to work on those, eliminate those. That's important.
He played against a number of the league's leading receivers, and no one's really had a big game against you. Other than guys that back end of your defense are playing well. Something you can put your finger on why that's been so effective?
Yeah, look, I think it starts up front. You have a couple no names up there. They don't get a lot of credit. With Dana being one of them, and he's playing really good football right now. George is a year improved and playing real good football. So Nadi gets no credit, and he I don't think he wants the credit, but he didn't get any credit. He's a stout player inside. And then you had Charles. Charles is coming on, so he hasn't been here the whole time, but that's a nice addition to that mix.
My apologies.
You're fine.
You had obviously the bye week to obviously scout the Eagles. I know every year is slightly different, but is there anything that you see that is a difference between playing them in the Super Bowl and obviously preparing for them on Monday?
No, I wouldn't say there's much difference. Those receivers are still plenty good, and their quarterback's a good football player, as is the running back. So I know they had an injury to the tight end, so that would be a little bit different, but they've got good players in those spots. So, and then defensively, it's really basically the same unit. A couple of those guys are a little bit older, but you can't tell. So 91 and 55 were there when I was there, and they are they seem to get better with age.
Coach, I know Chris is probably the first one to tell you, he lost his cool in the game against Miami, but he's had several games without a sack. We're going to talk to him. You have a sense of frustration kind of building. He started so hot so quick, and now it's kind of gone dry. Is he getting a little frustrated?
Well, you're going to ask him that, but I don't sense that. He knows that they slide the line to him. And so when I mention these other guys, and they chip them and all that. So when I mentioned these other guys, they're getting the benefit of him being doubled or chipped, and they're taking advantage of that. But Chris will get his when it's all said and done. He does so much for us, that attitude-wise and play wise. So.
And circling back to Adam's question about being able to take away the top receivers on the other team, L'Jarius has obviously been a big part of that. He's had 7 flags over the last 3 games for either interference or holding. Is he kind of feel like a marked guy right now, just because he does play pretty physical?
Yeah. Listen, I mean, I can't really answer that all the way. I wouldn't say he's marked, but. I'll leave it at that.
Andy, when you look at first half and second half offensive numbers, is that something you chalk up to coincidence? Do you study the reasons why maybe there's a pretty big contrast there?
Say again.
Just your first half offensive numbers and your second half offensive numbers.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Frage, I give credit to Frage because he does all that. And he's on top of all that all the time. So, no, I can't tell you exactly why, but he probably could, but I'm not going to let him talk to you.
And one of the things that the Eagles and yourself, your guys' team, good teams win close games, and the Eagles have shown that a lot this year. Is there a characteristic among teams and maybe about them that allows them to survive a close one at the end?
Yeah, they're good. They're just good. I mean, they're well coached, and they've got good players. So, and they have a culture there that dictates that, and so good football team.
Andy, with the receivers, just the self-scouting that went with them during this bye week, what they learned more to try to just make themselves more available and everything that's going in to just try to make themselves better.
Yeah, they're getting better as we go. I know it's hard to see, but they're getting better, and we'll just see how it goes forward. I mean, anything I say isn't going to mean anything unless it, they continue to improve. But we're seeing improvement. We just got to keep it going.
Coach, in the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts finished for 70 yards, setting a record. You guys won, but he was still a major threat, making that game close. Is that the same thing that you have to be attuned to when you play them this time? His mobility and how he'll take off and run.
And he threw the ball well too. So I mean, it was. You've got to look at all that. I mean, he's a strong kid, and that helps him in running. He's fast and strong, hard to bring down, strong in the pocket, and he's got a big arm. So he did well against us. Yeah, good player.
Coach, you know Jason, obviously Travis. What have you made of what they've done for the growth of the game, maybe in the past year with everything they've kind of been involved with off the field and leading into this game?
Yeah. Listen, ex-players have done a great job once they've gotten on the media. I mean, we know that. But to have the guys still playing and doing it and still maintaining the support of their teams doing it, that means that they're handling it the right way. And they're not putting coaches or players, at risk. There's no threat there. That's when you get into trouble. So that I would tell you, it's a good example for guys. This will continue to grow with other teams. And so how you handle that, I think, is important. These guys have done a nice job with it. That part, I think, is the best example.
Couple more, guys. Andy, with both teams coming off bye weeks, there's always hullabaloo about your team coming off the bye week. Is there something different about this year that with the offense look really different?
No. I don't know. I get asked that because we've had success, and I don't know the reason. I mean, we just go play. I've had good players. Been fortunate that way.
Coach, you've talked since you've been here about how all the games, so many of them come down, they're close at the end, and then, the magic card you've had here of Wade is Pat's ability to go down the field so quick. How much of that is a unique trait? The ability you have to take chunks. We have to have people chunks at one time. He seems to be able to take those chunks and know the risk reward and when to do it. How special is that part of it?
Yeah. Seren, there's no better weekend than this past one to look at how crazy the league is and how much parity there is in the league. The league has strived for that. Give every city an opportunity to be successful. And you saw it. I mean, this past weekend was wild. So to have somebody like Pat ends up being a big part of that. I mean, you start looking at the games that are determined by one score. It's ridiculous. Every year it increases and by number there. So to have somebody that can lead like Pat does and play the way he does, rally the guys around him, I think is important. Yeah.
Last one, Neil.
Coach, how does having a week off for the guys, how does that affect them? And do you expect them to be fresher and feel better coming to practice?
Yeah, I think both teams would tell you yes. I mean, a little time off doesn't hurt the guys physically. So and most of them came back in good shape. They didn't just sit on the couch. They worked. So it made sure when they got back here, they could move around well. And sometimes you worry about the big guys, but I thought our guys did a nice job of that. Yeah.
That's Andy Reid speaking earlier today as the Chiefs gear up for Monday Night Football against the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes spoke today instead of yesterday because the Chiefs' week is a day later than normal because they play on Monday. I guess it sort of makes sense that the NFL does that, but also, like, most people don't follow the NFL week. Really, only the NFL does that, which makes these things much more difficult for normal people like you and I. Like when we're planning out a show on a Wednesday and saying, oh, we'll air Andy Reid here and Patrick Mahomes here, only to find out, oh, wait, it's normal Wednesday, but it's Chiefs Tuesday. That's really good use of the calendar by the Kansas City Chiefs. Anything interesting from Reid stand out to you today?
I mean, I guess talking about, the receivers and what they expect to see from the offense in the second half, and not a lot of specifics, obviously, because Andy Reid is just never going to give you that. But expressing confidence in the group of wide receivers. Man, is there a more closely scrutinized position group in the NFL right now? Maybe that's just the blinders that we have on because we cover this one specific team. But I cannot imagine there is a more scrutinized position group in the NFL right now across the board than the wide receivers for the Kansas City Chiefs.
That's a good question. The Bengals offensive line has held that title for multiple seasons recently.
Yeah.
Probably not now. Yeah, that's probably it. And not including quarterbacks. That's a different category.
Right, because quarterback's a different deal.
Yeah, I would assume no. I would venture a guess as to say no. Nobody is more scrutinized right now.
It makes it really interesting, right? Because it'd be one thing if, it's a young group of guys and they're trying to make these progress, make these strides. But it's one thing if you're doing that on, like, most other teams. It's quite another if you're doing that on the defending Super Bowl champions. So
right.
It's such an interesting dynamic. And, of course, Reid is going to express his confidence and express his belief in these guys publicly. But, I mean, they don't have a choice. There's no help on the way. I mean, these guys have to get better, and they have to have a better understanding of which personnel groupings work best together. And I believe that it will get better because I can't imagine it not. Just in terms of when you're surrounded by good coaching and good talent elsewhere, generally you tend to rise to that occasion. And I have a hard time envisioning the opposite outcome. Like, maybe it doesn't become like, what's a great wide receiver group historically? And maybe it doesn't become like the greatest show on turf receivers with Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce or Reggie Wayne and that other guy that we can't speak about who play for the Colts. Maybe there's not a duo that becomes that in the second half, but I can't imagine this offense doesn't hit a stride here. And the other reason being that that's what the Chiefs do is they get better in November and December. And we get to start seeing that on Monday night.
And I hope we see, starting on Monday night, more of what we started to see in the last couple games before the bye. And that is a little bit more definition in, hey, here's your go-to guys in the passing game. And it starts with Rice, it starts with Watson, and then it goes from there. We have to get to a break. We'll hear from Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes coming up a little bit later on this hour. But first, we've got What Is Wrong With You, and that is coming up next right here on 580 Sports Talk. Time for today's What Is Wrong With You here on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan and Dan here with you the rest of the way today. What is wrong with you, as always, is brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. They cut the metal you need to your specifications. You know what that does, Dan? It saves you time, money, and material. Can you believe that? All three of them. We're talking about a trifecta. So never settle when it comes to your metal with Top City Metal Supply. And you can find our friends at Top City Metal Supply on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field, right here in the capital city. Our winner for the week so far, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they picked up the win on Monday's show.
Yes.
The gentleman from Chicago who robbed a K Jewelers in Lebanon, Indiana, and then led police on a chase. But he put his hand out the window and said, no, not me. Keep going. Past me. And then he said to the police, you're not supposed to pursue me. That was not in the script. That is not how I planned this.
The Jedi mind trick jewel thief.
That's so funny.
Really good story.
2 new stories today.
And we're going to crown a champion for the week today. Since we're off at 4 tomorrow.
You are correct.
Know what is wrong with you tomorrow. So this will be our winner for the week today will be the winner for the week.
So we'll see if we can go with it's still wire to wire. Does it count? Does it count wire to wire?
Yes.
Or is this like when the guys in the COVID season had a 7-inning no-hitter and it didn't count? I feel like it's...
I think wire to wire is wire to wire.
Yeah, you don't get bonus points for that, but it is fun to say. All right, my story is taking us to Florida, where our headline reads, man tried to steal couple's Florida home, then sought hitman to kill them. I love a good hitman story.
Been a while since we've had one.
After a man failed to steal a couple's multi-million-dollar home, he tried hiring a hitman to kill them so they couldn't testify against him in court, prosecutors say. They were not murdered, by the way. That it would not be allowed if they had been.
Yeah, violates rule number 1.
A judge has sentenced him to 17 and a half years in prison. So we start with a married couple who learned they were no longer listed as the owners of their multi-million-dollar home when they received updated property tax information all the way back in August of 2021. Instead, a fake charity called Aura Inc. was listed as the new owner of their Reddington Shores estate.
Aura Inc. Sounds so fake.
Sounds like the evil group in Pokemon. Like that sounds like, the new game, they're going to have Aura Inc. in it. The couple then found a fraudulent warranty deed saying they had granted ownership of the property to the organization for all of $500. Again, this is a multi-million-dollar home. However, that never happened. According to prosecutors, we now are introduced to Alexander Lachinsky. That's what we're going to go with here. Lots of C's and Z's in here. Lachinsky of North Reddington Beach, Florida, who had used the fake charity to file a fraudulent warranty deed to try to transfer the home ownership to himself. Lachinsky is accused of stalking the married homeowners before they even knew his name, according to a memo filed by the government. When they filed a lawsuit against him to correct the deed, Lachinsky responded by harassing them and their attorney representing them through letters, emails, and faxes. One letter threatened to file a false lien against the couple's out-of-state residence, also saying, quote, I don't want to see your career go down the drain. Lachinsky was charged with deed fraud in April of last year in relation to his efforts to steal the home and was incarcerated in the Pinellas County Jail. That August, the couple received a letter from an inmate at the jail saying that Lachinsky had offered him $45,000 to, quote, help him hurt them. The inmate then also wrote to the assistant U.S. District Attorney's office and told them about the plan and even became an informant for the government in the process.
I bet he did.
He was singing like a canary. That inmate told the FBI that Lachinsky said the pending criminal fraud case against him would be dropped if the couple were dead. Lachinsky started speaking with an undercover agent posing as a hitman and was offered $30,000 to kill the couple. In one phone call, the undercover agent asks Lachinsky if he was good with having the couple killed, and Lachinsky said yes. That was enough to get him arrested and eventually sentenced this week to 17 years and 6 months in prison on charges of murder for hire and obstruction of justice.
I like how his lawyer wrote that his client was remorseful and regretful and that his conduct is the result of a lack of real-life experience and being naive, while prosecutors have written that Lachinsky has had a total lack of remorse.
Lachinsky, as well, has repeatedly said prior to his sentencing, quote, I am just young and dumb.
How old is this guy? Do
we know? I don't know if we have an age for...
Doesn't look like we have an age.
Mr. Lachinsky.
Aura Inc.
Aura Inc.
Deed fraud.
Fake as hell. You can't be that dumb if you're committing deed fraud. Okay, he's 25. I'll tell you this, man. At 25 years old, I was pretty dumb. At 29 years old, I'm pretty dumb. But I never thought I'm going to steal someone's house with a fake deed and fake charity.
Yeah, that's that is the kind of scheme that takes a certain level of intelligence to see all the way through. Like, my eyes start glazing over when you get to the details about deed fraud. Like, I'm not going to dip my toes into those waters. That bores me. Must be an easier way to do scams.
Yeah, you'd think.
Or just not do scams.
Well, yeah, that's usually the easy way out of this.
Let it be known that the official stance of 580 Sports Talk is don't do scams.
Yes, 100%.
Let it be known.
That's time. That's my story. Now time for yours, Dan.
All right, you got a highbrow deed fraud story. I got a story about a guy being in a porta potty and it getting pushed over. And that's how a police chase ended. We go to Glendale, Wisconsin. Police chase ended in a porta potty Wednesday after Glendale police attempted to pull over a driver in a stolen car. It began with a crash on I-43. According to the Glendale Police Department, officers located a Dodge Durango, which had been stolen out of Plymouth, Minnesota, around 11:40 a.m. Officers saw the driver driving recklessly, and an officer attempted to deploy stop sticks. The driver drove into oncoming traffic and caused a crash with two other vehicles on Port Washington Road. The four people inside the stolen vehicle fled from the vehicle and ran from police. Golfers at a nearby golf course, Lincoln Park is on the west side of I-43, saw police cars speeding across the green. That'll ruin your day.
No kidding.
That's worse than having them punched. A video taken from golfers show police officers surrounding a porta potty. It's where they found one suspect trapped after a golfer stepped in and took matters into his own hands. Golfer Adam Westermeyer shared, when we realized they were being chased and that kid was in the porta potty, we tried to tell the police officer. He went off to chase the other one, and I just made a rash decision to go push the porta potty down. You know,
oh man,
how can I help? Sometimes, you know, you look and you see a situation and, you know, you're taught to look for the helpers, right?
Yeah.
Look for the helpers. This guy's a helper. He said, what can I do? I know. I'll knock the porta potty over. Several golfers saw this all unfold on the green. Two people were taken into custody. The drivers of the two other vehicles involved in the freeway crash were transported to local hospitals with non-life-threatening injuries. So 4 people ran from police. 2 people were taken into custody. So the other 2 we can assume are in the wind. One of them covered in porta potty mess.
That's so much poop.
Yeah.
And that weird blue treated liquid.
Yeah, I can't imagine a worse fate. Like that's not a situation I ever want to be in my whole life, being in an overturned porta potty. I don't care how I got there. I just don't ever want to be there when it overturns.
Fittingly, with this story coming from Wisconsin, I'm reminded of a line from an episode of That 70s Show where Eric talks about his sister locking him in a porta potty with a goat.
Vance on the YouTube comment says, I'm sure they put that guy in the rookie's cop car when they.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who wants to transport this guy?
Who wants the poop guy? That's so gross. That's so icky.
Yeah. Really, really nasty.
All right. So we've got highbrow versus lowbrow today. Who are we going with?
I always go lowbrow in this situation. I'm going to lie to you, man.
Yeah. I mean, you got trapped in a porta potty.
Shout out to the helpful golfer.
I do think I'm going to stick with our current winner for the week, though. The fact that he tried. Like, nope, not me. Got the wrong guy. Speeding away from you.
You're wasting your time with me. I ain't doing nothing.
You will let me go. That's my vote. Still
yeah,
the week.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You weren't supposed to pursue me. Jewelry store thief runs the rack, goes wire to wire, and wins this week in What Is Wrong With You. Brought to you by Top City Metal Supply. Metal cut to order when you need it at Top City Metal Supply, located on South Topeka Boulevard, halfway between Frito-Lay and Forbes Field, right here in Topeka. Let's get to a break. We'll come on back. We'll hear from QB1, Patrick Mahomes. He spoke earlier today, and we'll hear from him coming up on 580 Sports Talk. This probably doesn't deserve a full headline, which will lead off the 5 o'clock hour of the show today. Carissa Thompson, pretty prominent role in NFL TV media these days.
Yeah, she hosts the Amazon pre-halftime and post, right?
Yeah, she is the moderator for the Amazon games. She does the first pregame show on Fox, the one that's on at 10 o'clock Central Time, and then she does the updates throughout the day on Fox as well. She has a podcast with her friend Aaron Andrews. In fact, I was watching on FS1 on after a college basketball game last night, and she was doing some NFL Films interview show too. So she's all over the place. People know who Carissa Thompson is. She is getting destroyed on the internet today because she went on the Pardon My Take podcast and admitted that she has made up reports before, like when a coach doesn't want to talk to her or she doesn't have time to talk to them before a half starts. And it's like, all right, we're going to Carissa for a report. And she has admitted she's just like made up reports. And boy, people don't like finding that out. People don't like finding out they've been lied to.
No.
And the crazy thing is it's not just like fans who have said, hey, this sucks. Why did you do that? It's like Tracy Wolfson from CBS.
Yes. Laura Oakman.
Who also works at Fox.
Yes. Anybody who has done sideline reporting for a living basically has come out and said, like, how could you say this? You hurt the image of what it is that we do, which is undeniably true. But that being said, is there anything that has less value from a sideline reporter than well, I talked to Coach Chud Hungus at halftime, and he said his team needed to be more aggressive. Back upstairs to you.
Yeah, I can see it from both ways. Because, like, one, just ethically, like, don't lie. Tell your producer I got nothing, or say, like, oh, well, I didn't hear from Blast McHardcheese, but I do know that before the game, he was yelling at his punter and called him an idiot and Mike Vanderjagt-like. Like, okay, boom, fine. That's perfect.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like, maybe this should tell us something about the importance of that particular interview.
Yes.
Maybe that it really doesn't mean a whole lot.
Yes, because the coach interviews during games are so they bring very little.
Yeah.
And I can't say I've ever been terribly interested to hear, like, maybe going into the locker room or coming out of the locker room is more interesting than hey, it's the end of the first quarter. Greg Popovich, what do you think your team needs to do? Score. Yeah, thank you for that. That's great.
What'd you think of the rebounding? We did it. All right, good stuff.
Could be better.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. The other thing, too, that's wild, though, why would you admit this?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't like, who was it? Mike Munchak, it was the Brian Flores lawsuit. All started because Mike Munchak made a comment on some podcast that 8 people listened to, and then it blew up a year later. This is quite literally the most popular sports podcast in America. Like, millions of people listen every episode to this show.
Blow up your reputation in one fell swoop. It couldn't be me.
We're going to get a great apology tonight, though. First commercial break on Amazon Prime Video. Going to be staring directly into the hard cam, and she's going to go, I pride myself and think of myself as a woman of faith. There's a drive into the left pylon for a Cincinnati touchdown. With that, let's get to some actual football news today. Patrick Mahomes took the podium for the first time since prior to the game in Frankfurt, with the Chiefs coming up on Monday Night Football against the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's hear what QB1 had to say when he spoke in Kansas City earlier this afternoon.
Time up. How did you enjoy it, refresh it, look over everything? How'd you spend it?
Yeah, got to spend some time in Texas with the family, and then obviously had my charity gala, which was really cool. And then got to go to the Texas Tech game at KU. So a lot of family time. Got to look at a little bit of football as well. But it's always good to get the bye week, especially kind of that midpoint of the season to kind of refresh and restart for the next part of it.
What part of the football aspect did you really focus on?
Yeah, I think for me, it's you learn. I always go back to the fundamentals, try to get back to my fundamentals as best as I can during the bye week. And then I think watching the tape, seeing what we did well, what we can improve on, and then try to use that into this next part of the season and try to be even better than when we went into the bye.
Does that ever surprise you when you go back and do kind of a more thorough review like that?
I think what I've realized just now is it's never as big as it seems. It's always little things, as far as fundamentals, as far as games and stuff like that. And so it doesn't surprise me now, but instead of trying to make these big, huge changes, you just go back to the fundamentals and try to execute even better.
Patrick, with the new defensive coordinator with the Eagles, they have obviously some different personnel. But outside of those main topics, what have you seen differently from this defense that may be better or worse than what you saw from the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, they're really good. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the main thing. They have a lot of the same players, and they've added some more talent. D-line's special, one of the best D-lines I think I've ever seen. Just waves of guys that can come in and play, mixture of veterans and young guys. The DBs, 2 great DBs at cornerback position, adding Myerberg and a Blankenship at the safety position, and then linebackers, guys that have played and been in the league for a little bit now. So they have a good defense in general. I mean, obviously a great team, but a good defense in general at all aspects. And so for us, it'll be a great challenge.
See rapport with the receivers growing in the second half and as you go here?
I've always felt like throughout the season, the chemistry gets better and better. Obviously, everybody wants the receivers to blow up and everything like that. But I think guys have gotten better as the season's gone on, and they'll continue to get better. And we're making strides in the right direction. And I think we'll keep doing that as the season goes, and hopefully carry that momentum into the playoffs.
On top of that, how much do you take pride in making it better? We always hear about like Michael Jordan makes his players better. How do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, all you can do is go out there and try to be great every single day. That's what I try to do in practice, getting extra reps, and then into the game and try to make those adjustments on the fly. And so I push guys to give everything they have every single day. And luckily for me, I have a lot of guys like that on the team. But at the end of the day, you just got to go and keep at it, stay with the process. And then at the end of the year, you're satisfied with the results.
Patrick, in a game like this, where the best team in the NFC, the best in the AFC, and 2 great quarterbacks, do you love that? I mean, the Super Bowl proved you and Jalen battled it out to the very end. You were injured. You look at that game. Is that kind of what you expect in this Monday night stage?
Yeah, it's going to be a great game. Like you said, you got great teams in general. I mean, obviously, Jalen's a great quarterback. But I think just the full entire team on both sides is you never know how the game's going to go. It could be high scoring, it could be low scoring, but 2 teams that usually find a way to get a win, playing on Monday Night Football in front of the whole world. It's going to be a great game, and I'm glad it's at Arrowhead.
Patrick, Andy's talked for a long time. I just asked him about every game. So many games come down to the very end, and you got to have those hurry-up drives. And you've been very successful at it. I'm just curious, do you go through a checklist? You seem to know when to risk it. I mean, Buffalo, you threw the pick, but you had to go fast, right, last year. Is there a mental checklist you go through that this is more urgent, I've got to be more risky here because it's worth it, it's the only way to get it done? How does that work in your brain?
We talk through it every single week. Every week I've been here from OTAs through now. We talk about situations. If we're down 2 scores, we're down 1 score, what the situation is, what time we want to score before, all these different situations, and prepare us as best as we possibly can for games. And you watch other teams around the league, you take notes from that stuff as well. And I just always feel prepared because we do that. And so I know I'm on the same page with Coach Reid, with Coach Nagy. Everybody is that we know what we're trying to do in that situation. And so if you need to press the issue, press the issue. If you want to take some time off the clock, take some time off the clock. And I think that's you see in the NFL. I mean, you saw this last week. All the games are close, so it's who executes at the end of games the best, and that's who ends up winning.
And I know I asked you this a couple of years ago, going back 5 years when you did the shop, I think the LeBron James show, and you said, I can't wait. Peyton Manning, Tom, they see everything now. In 5 years, I think was the number you said. Can't wait to see where I'll be. I know you're not the type to be like, yeah, I got it all figured out. But you look back and go, wow, look at what I know now, and is there still more to learn?
Yeah, I think you have to find the right balance. I feel like I obviously know a lot more than I knew in that chair that day. But I think you always want to have that mentality of you're going to make it happen. And that's what I had in that chair that day, and I feel like I still have now is even if you know what the right read is, sometimes you want to make the big play happen whenever it's needed, and I have to balance that line throughout my entire career.
Has it been an adjustment for you, the way you guys are playing defense now, that maybe you don't need to do some of the things you've done in the past? Has that been an adjustment for you, or are you playing the game, you feel like the same way?
There's definitely an adjustment, I think, just early in the season. But I've had a feel for that. I think as seasons have gone on, you have a feel for how the whole team's playing, not just the defense, the offense, special teams, stuff like that. And you have to adjust on the fly. It's week in, week out. You have to make adjustments. And so obviously if the defense is playing good and the offense maybe not playing to the level I want, you run some time off the clock. Or if you feel like the offense needs to score, you speed it up. But that's just part of playing the quarterback position. And it's not always pretty, but if you get the win at the end of the day, that's what you want.
We talked
Just a lot about the way defenses play you guys and taking away the back end. Do you notice when you watch film that other teams are seeing more of that you see the defenses you're going to face playing more of that against other teams? You're still seeing a lot of unscouted stuff.
You see some teams, you see some similar stuff, but I would say we still see a lot of unscouted stuff. I mean, having a guy like Travis makes it a lot different because he's the level that he plays at, it takes so much attention for the defenses to go up against, and then they know we want to throw it deep, so they stay deep and make us be patient and drive the length of the field. And I mean, I want to throw it deep as much as everybody, but they're making me earn it and throw it short, and I think that's why we're having to drive the field these last few years. And so we have to continue to prove that to get guys come up so we can hit the deep pass when it is there.
You spoke about your gala. You had Doug Williams there, presented you with the Black College Football Hall of Fame Founders Award. Speak about that. What was that feeling like?
Yeah, that was actually a surprise to me. I knew Doug and Shaq Harris were going to be there, but I didn't know I was getting that award, and it is an honor. It really is. I mean, those are the true greats of the game that put me in the position where I can be playing the quarterback position today. And for them to present an award like that to me, it's a tremendous honor just to know that they've recognized me for something whenever I know that everything that I've done is because of them.
Patrick, I have a producer who asked me, this is a two-pronged question. He wanted me to ask you about your underwear. Because I got in the media, we got a chance to see you on the sideline at Texas Tech. You can't go anywhere. It's like Beatlemania. What's your life like?
It's calmer than Travis's. I'll say that. So I think I'm doing all right. I'll keep just playing football and having fun doing it.
About your underwear?
Well, my underwear, I've worn them my entire career, and Chad actually said something about right before he retired. He said something about it, and it kind of went under the radar, and I was like, thank goodness, man. No one picked that up. And then, of course, I think it was Eli had to say it on the broadcast, and I was like, now it's going to be a thing. So they'll still be worn as long as we're winning. So I'll make sure to clean them. And I don't wear them in the games. I just wear them to the games. So they're not that bad. But hopefully we keep winning games. I can wear them for 20-plus years.
How old are they?
Well, I've been starting for 6 years, so they're 6 years old.
Only professional.
Yeah, only professional. Brittany got them before one of my first starts, and I wore it that Chargers game, and the rest is history.
I'm so glad we have 30. Two questions for you, Patrick. Just how beneficial is it for you to have everybody healthy going into this week, obviously being available to practice? And then since you are in your 7th year, how much imprint, say, do you have for the coaching staff for the bye week that maybe you didn't have in 2017, 2018?
Yeah, I would say it's obviously great when you have healthy guys this time of the year, and we try to maintain that with Rick and the training staff and with the weight room as well. But I mean, just having those guys out there practicing, you have that chemistry, and then we've gotten to work with the other guys as well. And so that's always a plus. You want to keep maintaining that. And then I think you get more and more every year. I mean, I got to talk to Coach Nagy. I got to talk to Girardi. I got to talk to Coach Reed during the bye week. And just they gave me some of their inputs, some of the stuff they wanted me to work on. I told them stuff that I liked, stuff that I thought we could get better at. And we're going to try to execute that this week. I mean, what a better challenge than playing the Eagles the first week out of the bye and seeing where we're really at.
Freaking Eli, am I right? Messing it up.
Yeah, giving away the game on his draws, man.
Yeah, man, I don't need to think about Mahomes' underwear again. You didn't need to ask about Mahomes' boxers today. But also, look, Pat, I get it. They're lucky, like superstition.
Yeah,
been
superstition
winning.
is real as steel, man.
And I'm glad he doesn't wear them during the game every single week. 6 years is a long time for one pair of, stop by Kohl's, man. It ain't expensive.
It might be time for a new pair.
I'm sure you and your wife have some Kohl's cash stacked up, man. Just go grab a new thing of jockeys, man. for your own sake. That's a little icky. Just a little bit. That's Patrick Mahomes, though, speaking earlier today. Not the icky part, just that one thing, but the rest of it, that's Patrick Mahomes. Coordinators will speak tomorrow. We probably won't hear from Spags and Nagy on the show because, again, we only have a 2-hour show tomorrow, 2 until 4. We're off early due to K-State basketball in the Bahamas versus Providence. Before we get there, though, we've got 1 hour left of 580 Sports Talk today. We'll come back after the news. We'll hear from Mitch Holthus, preview Thursday Night Football, and have a bunch of 580 Sports Talk headlines to get to you. That's all coming up after the news here on 580 WIBW. Now it's the final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday afternoon. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. That's Dan Lucero. We're with you until 6 o'clock today. We're still getting to your texts. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. We're also taking your comments on YouTube. Feed's been a little goofy with the YouTube feed today, so we apologize for that. But you can still watch as much as you can or listen on YouTube. Our channel is called 580 Sports Talk. Hopefully by tomorrow, everything will be spick and span in tip-top shape.
Maybe you think we look better blurry. That's entirely possible.
Yeah, probably.
Entirely realistic.
Very realistic. Yeah. And the comment section is open. Again, our YouTube channel can be found 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. Is where we stream the show live every single day. We've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines coming up here in just a matter of moments. We will also get to a preview of Thursday Night Football. It's a big one tonight. Bengals Ravens in Baltimore, the big crab cake, as Chris Berman would say. That was a bad boomer voice, but that's fine.
It was not good.
It was not good. And Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, will join us coming up at the bottom of the hour as well. With that, let's get to today's 580 Sports Talk headlines. And the first one I've got for you are actually a pair of headlines. Players who are ready to return, at least at some point in the indefinite future. Let's start with the biggest news from the day in that regard. Jalen Daniels, quarterback for the Kansas Jayhawks, apparently sick of rumors that have been circulating on social media, some more unfounded than others, decided to post a video to his social media accounts today, Twitter, Instagram, etc., and made sure to say he is not going anywhere. Daniels said in part in the video, "I'm going to be blunt. This season didn't go as planned, but life comes at you fast, and sometimes your story is out of your control. But I guess that just means I have unfinished business. My dreams haven't changed, my goals are still there, and my vision for my future is clear. So you want something to talk about? Talk about this. I'm not done yet, and I'm not going anywhere. Rock chalk." So that is what Jalen Daniels had to say. If you are not terminally online and maybe go outside and touch grass every once in a while, you might not have seen the most recent drama regarding this. Somebody who writes for a Kansas State-related website, posted a rumor on their message board saying they were hearing Jalen Daniels was going to transfer. KU fans picked up on that, ran with it. A lot of infighting, typical Sunflower Showdown week, and KU versus K-State Twitter stuff ensued. That's where the most recent wave of rumors came from. There's also been just sort of a persistent, I don't even know if you can call it a rumor, but sort of a persistent air of what is going on regarding this Jalen Daniels injury, with a lot of people wondering, is he going to redshirt and transfer and save a year of eligibility? Is he just going to transfer no matter what because of any number of things? The tied-in folks cover KU, specifically our pal Michael Swain, have said from the beginning that he had not heard anything about any plans to transfer. There were even KU fans at one point recently who were running with, oh my God, he's going to transfer to USC because he's from Southern California. No, that doesn't make any sense. But sure, I guess if you want to believe that, you can. He's not going anywhere though, and I don't really think anyone should be surprised by this. And I'm not going to get into the fan wars here. I'm just saying that was an erroneous report, and I'm not surprised Jalen Daniels is coming back next year.
Yeah, not surprised and happy for him, and just hopeful that when we see him on the field next, he's as healthy as he can be. Because the thing about a bad back, it can be so tricky to manage, and it has been very disappointing not to get to see him on the field this year, just from the standpoint of wanting to watch a great player do his thing. Wanting to watch a player who came into his own last season, who was looking forward to a healthy season, preseason offensive player of the year in the conference, got off to a good start, and then just halted. And we didn't get to see the rest of the story. So I'm glad that Jalen Daniels would get another opportunity to write his story as a Kansas Jayhawk, because he's got a chance to be one of the all-time great ones to wear that uniform. And certainly, I think already you can argue one of the most important players to wear that uniform, given how that program has transformed here in the last 2 years.
Oh, so, there's no doubt.
It's kind of too bad he had to do this.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like, this was something he probably felt forced into doing a little bit, not by the university, just for his own sake, so that he doesn't have to have his name in other people's mouth saying he's going to do this, he's going to do that, where he's the one who knows what he's doing.
Yeah, it is what it is. That's the ecosystem of the internet obsessed sports fandom these days. But Jalen Daniels coming back next year. That's good news for KU. The other note I wanted to get to, this is from Kellis Robinette of the Wichita Eagle, friend of the program, who tweeted just over an hour ago that he just checked in with the Manhattan Municipal Court. Kansas State basketball player Naquan Tomlin has been granted diversion in connection to his disorderly conduct arrest in October. If he abides by the terms of his diversion, his case will be dismissed. So I think there's two elements of this. One means you're a step closer to having this in the rear view, assuming he does not get in trouble again. That's good for everybody. Glad it was, on the spectrum of how serious an arrest is. I'm glad it was low enough that diversion was an option. That's a good thing. And hopefully he gets through this. I also think you can look at this and say he's definitely closer to returning, but I would not pump the brakes. I think I'm cautiously optimistic about how soon he is going to return. Fitz told us yesterday it sounds like things are trending in the right direction, which is good for the program.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that the circumstances around his suspension at K-State were so vague because we knew it had something to do with this, but Tang was being really cagey about it. And there were the rumors that we also talked about with Fitz a couple weeks ago from the NBA draft process during the year. It's just kind of hard to know exactly what the rationale was for the suspension in the first place. And K-State doesn't have to tell us that. This isn't the professionals. They can get away with that. So I guess I'm cautiously optimistic that this is a good sign he will be back soon. I'm just not sure how soon that actually will be.
Yeah, would certainly like to see him back on the court.
Yes.
Obviously, he's an outstanding player, but yeah, you're right. The ambiguous nature of everything made it kind of uncomfortable, and it might still be uncomfortable for that first little bit if and when he does get back on the court. But this is a step towards getting him back on the floor. And from a strictly basketball perspective, this is going to help Kansas State because he's a veteran. He can score. He helps them inside. And I'm excited to see from a basketball perspective, again, how he's going to look playing with what appears to be a deep and talented backcourt.
So that's good news for Kansas football. Good news for Kansas State basketball. Certainly the most, preeminent brands at both of those universities.
First headline for me, let's get you the injury report. We've finally got one of those. We have an injury report for Chiefs-Eagles. Of course, because it is a Monday night game, there is no Wednesday participation report. But we have our first participation report of the week for this Thursday, and it's a good one for the Chiefs. Everybody on it practiced in full. There were 9 players listed, but all were full participants in practice. Those include Richie James, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jerick McKinnon, Justin Reed, L'Jarius Sneed, Kadarius Toney, Tommy Townsend, Drew Tranquill, and Justin Watson. All of those players listed as full participants. James is notable because he's still on IR, and the Chiefs have opened up his 21-day window. That had previously been done. So we're moving closer potentially to James being able to be activated from injured reserve if all goes well. Philadelphia Eagles had one player who did not practice today. That's Dallas Goedert. He broke his arm 2 weeks ago, and they haven't placed him on IR, but it's pretty clear he's not going to play at the very least in this game on Monday. Their other tight end, Philadelphia, Grant Calcaterra, dealing with post-concussion issues, but he was a full participant today. A limited participant, safety Justin Evans, who is in his 21-day window off of IR. He was limited with a knee injury. Cam Jurgens, one of their guards, is also in the 21-day IR window. He was a full participant today. So too was cornerback Bradley Roby. That's your participation report for a highly anticipated Super Bowl rematch on Monday night.
A good week of games around the NFL. Thursday night game has a lot of intrigue tonight. Obviously, you've got Monday night, which has a ton of intrigue. Steelers-Browns, that's an interesting matchup for sure. Let's see what else.
Unfortunately, not all of the standalone games are great. We didn't quite go 3 for 3 because Vikings-Broncos is your Sunday night game.
Broncos are playing better.
More primetime Broncos.
Can we give a shout out to Josh Dobbs real quick?
Yes, we can.
Other than the fact that he's just an incredible story. And you know how much I hate to give any credit to any Minnesota Viking. So Josh Dobbs is the most interesting man in the NFL. He's a journeyman backup who has now started and won games for multiple teams this season. Won a game for the Vikings after being on the team for about 4 days earlier, just 2 weeks ago. He got an aerospace engineering degree, I believe it is, at the University of Tennessee.
Yes. His nickname is the Pastronaut.
Which is so good.
It's really good.
And he's also got alopecia. And I want to be sensitive here. I don't have the exact definition in front of it, but it causes issues with hair growth, among other things. A number of known athletes in somewhat recent memory. Charlie Villanueva in college basketball in the NBA, famous case of it recently. A number of athletes have had it. Well, Josh Dobbs caught wind of a young fan of the Vikings who also has alopecia. And Josh Dobbs did an absolutely awesome thing for him, signed a number 15 Dobbs Vikings jersey and had it sent to this young fan. And man, his eyes lit up as soon as he saw it. And he was so excited. His dad took a picture, posted it, and the video of him opening the package on Twitter. That's so cool that Josh Dobbs did that. That made that kid's year, probably.
Oh, yeah.
That is so cool.
Awesome.
So shout out to Josh Dobbs. As for the Chiefs and the Eagles, you always want to come out of the bye week being as healthy as you possibly can be. So the fact that there's nothing like overly severe is nice.
Nick Bolton not on the list. He's on IR though, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So that would be the one thing when they say everybody is healthy and practicing. That does not include Nick Bolton. Still going to miss a little more time coming off of that wrist surgery.
My next headline takes us to Big 12 headquarters. I need to ask you a question. What you gonna do, brother, when Brett Yormark, the Big 12, and 48 bajillion screaming Big 12 maniacs run wild on you, brother? That's my Hulk Hogan.
That is better than your Chris Berman.
A lot better than my Chris Berman. The Big 12 Conference today announced a collaboration with WWE for the upcoming 2023 Dr. Pepper Big 12 Football Championship to be held on Saturday, December 2nd. Through this partnership, the Big 12 Conference and WWE will introduce a custom-made championship title belt for this year's conference championship game Most Outstanding Player, which will be presented on field at the conclusion of the game by a WWE superstar.
Nah, that rules.
Additionally, a co-branded WWE and Big 12 logo will be featured throughout the venue and on the field. Throughout the week leading up to the championship game itself, WWE superstars will be prominently featured and integrated. In addition to the championship title belt presentation, select superstars will participate in a Big 12 Conference community event, pregame hospitality events, and the game's official coin toss.
That's a lot.
No, Becky Lynch going to be out there flipping the coin. That is awesome. Commissioner Brett Yormark said, quote, WWE is a global brand that connects with a wide array of audiences. With this partnership, we will integrate WWE and its brand power into one of the conference's biggest moments, further strengthening the bridge between sports and entertainment throughout the Big 12. And at halftime, Mike Gundy will fight Steve Sarkisian in Hell in a Cell. That is not part of the
No, that would be cool.
That'd
I'd sign
awesome.
up for that. They played a whole game in the cell, the elimination chamber.
Yeah, put him in the chamber. Oh, no. Timer went off. Here comes the K-State defense coming out of the chamber. Big 12 war games.
You know, if we end up with like a 4-way tie or something done, why don't we just play the whole championship game Royal Rumble style?
I'm in. I'm absolutely in. Although that means Texas is going to win the title because those two defensive linemen are going to win.
Yeah.
They're how do you get them over the top rope?
You cannot get Tavondre Sweat over the top rope. It's not possible. I don't know who this is for. I'll be honest. Maybe just you.
It might just be me. Our pal Mark, loyal listener on the YouTube. I know Mark was talking about it earlier. I know Mark's a big wrestling fan. It might be for just the two of us. I want to know who is going to present the belt. What superstars are going to be? Is it going to be like the Brooklyn Brawlers going to come out here and handing it out?
Hell yeah.
Are we going to get like Stone Cold's going to make an appearance? He lives in Texas.
Yeah. No, it's going to be somebody like, I don't know. I don't know who the mid-carders are anymore. I don't know who your Intercontinental Championship contenders are these days.
That would be Gunther currently. He's about to become the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time.
It'll be Gunther.
In case you were curious.
It'll be a Gunther caliber wrestler.
You know who the U.S. the United States champion is right now? You're going to get so mad.
Is it The Miz?
It is not.
Is it Pat McAfee?
No. You're getting warmer, though.
Is it Rob Gronkowski?
It's Logan Paul.
Oh.
And he won it at a match in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, yeah.
Wrestling. But yeah, WWE and the Big 12 partnering together. So I guess we're losing our Bathe and Ape partnership now in favor of professional wrestling.
We don't know that. Maybe all those guys will be wearing Bathe and Ape WWE shirts.
I need Roman Reigns showing up in Bape, handing off the most outstanding player title belt to Ollie Gordon.
Next headline for me. The video, as we have mentioned today, is not working great. So not everybody can see what hat I am wearing today. But the hat I have chosen for today's show was intentional. It is a tribute to the good people of Oakland, California, who have lost their baseball team or are going to lose their baseball team. Because this morning, Major League Baseball owners voted unanimously to allow the Oakland Athletics to move to Las Vegas, which paves the way for the second relocation of a baseball team in the past half century. More than 2 decades of efforts to secure a new stadium to replace the aging Oakland Coliseum failed. Despite unanswered questions about the team's near-term future and stadium plans in Las Vegas, the vote was unanimous from Major League Baseball's owners. Athletics owner and total scumbag John Fisher said, quote, "Today is an incredibly difficult day for Oakland A's fans. It's a great day for Las Vegas."
Sick.
The A's will call their 4th different city in franchise history home. Obviously, they began their history as Philadelphia A's. Many of our listeners may remember when they were the Kansas City A's for a spell in the 50s and 60s before they did move to Oakland in the late 1960s, mid-1960s, and they had been there ever since. And now Oakland, a city which once boasted 3 major sports franchises, will be down to 0. By the way, can you name, and I believe this is true, the only major sports franchise to also call 4 cities, distinct cities? So I'm not talking about the Warriors, Golden State Warriors being Oakland and San Francisco and kind of bouncing back and forth. What other major sports team in the Big 4 sports has called 4 different cities home in their history?
The Los Angeles Rams. No, that's double counting. They've been to LA twice.
You're double counting. Yep. Cleveland, Los Angeles, St. Louis, Los Angeles. I better double check and make sure the Arizona Cardinals aren't an answer to this, which they might be.
I think they're just 3. I think it's just Chicago, St. Louis, Phoenix / Glendale.
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay.
Except for the year they merged with the Pittsburgh Steelers during World War II.
Yes, Card Pit.
Yes, they were Card Pit in 1944.
The Steelers did that twice. In 42, they were the Steagles.
Yes, the Phil Pitt Steagles. Yeah.
God, that's awesome.
A real thing that happened.
Man, I'm trying to think. It's not the Atlanta Hawks, is it? Because I know they've moved multiple times.
St. Louis, Atlanta.
Did they start in Baltimore too? I could have sworn that they were somewhere else first, but that's still not enough. Man, I don't know.
I bet some of our listeners know because one of those stops.
Oh, is it the Kings?
It is the Sacramento Kings. One of those stops was Kansas City. They were the Rochester Royals, then the Cincinnati Royals, then the Kansas City Omaha Kings for a spell, then the Kansas City Kings till they moved to Sacramento in 1985. So I guess technically they called 5 cities home.
Yeah. The Kansas City. That's not like the Kansas City Topeka Kings. Like Omaha is still a drive.
Yeah.
Especially back then. I was sitting next to Pistol at the Washburn men's game on Sunday at Municipal Auditorium in Kansas City. Pistol was there covering the game for Top Sports. And he made a comment about how, I grew up in this stadium. I was coming to the stadium as a kid, and I'd see the Kansas City Omaha Kings play here.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, man, I am having a hard time. Like, I know that they played there, but I'm having a hard time envisioning an NBA game in this stadium right now.
Right. So it is a sad story that Oakland will lose the A's. John Fisher held that city hostage, would not put a competitive team or spend the money to put a competitive team in that stadium, and then used the resulting low attendance to show that, well, actually, they don't care about baseball here. And Oakland wouldn't build him a stadium. They wouldn't pay the son of the people that founded the Gap That's where Fisher's family
Sick.
money came from.
Love it.
Gap money. The classic born on third base thinks he hits a triple. Rich guy, John Fisher, tried to extort Oakland for a new stadium. Oakland told him to go to hell, and he's taken his team to Las Vegas. And it's really sad. The people of Oakland, the sports fans of Oakland have deserved a hell of a lot better than owners have given them in the major sports in the last decade or so.
We have a comment in the YouTube feed from Barbara who says, I feel that MLB is only about money and definitely not about the fans. Hard to argue that a lot of the time. Baseball, lowercase b baseball is about the fans and the camaraderie and the pageantry. Capital B baseball is about making money.
Yes.
And I think the Oakland, Las Vegas, Philadelphia, Kansas City A's are a very clear example of that.
One other quick MLB note, the MVP awards are going to be handed out tonight. Shohei Ohtani, your likely winner in the American League. Ronald Acuna Jr., your likely winner in the National League.
I just saw a screen grab of Shohei Ohtani sitting on his couch awaiting his interview when he inevitably wins American League MVP. Mm-hmm. He's got a very good beagle. Very good dog. I love beagles. They're very loud. But they're, oh my God, wonderful dogs.
Ohtani officially just announced, by the way, is the American League most valuable player.
And I don't think anyone is shocked by that. He deserves, even not playing the last month of the year, he deserves. Was it the last month he missed?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's such a freak. He's so good.
Hope we can see him on the mound again, dominating again in 2025.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's going to have Tommy John surgery for a second time. So whoever his team is next year, can't imagine it'll be the Angels. They won't get him on the mound, but we get to watch him hit. And that's fun because he hits some of the loudest and longest home runs in all of baseball.
I hope it's my team. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to give you that hot take and say I hope it is the Chicago Cubs.
Hey, man, they got a chance. They're in with a chance if they're going to open up the purse strings.
Yeah, I imagine it's going to be the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Yankees, probably not the Braves, but like the teams that have the money to spend are going to get him. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of rumors that, he cares more about winning or he wants to make sure he's on the West Coast so he's closer to Japan or whatever. Like, if you're going to say the Mariners will offer him $300 million, but the Yankees will offer him $800 million, like, I don't think the West Coast matters that much.
I'm hearing Toronto is in with a chance.
That'd be interesting.
That they'd like to make a big splash. Certainly the Mets have the most money.
Yeah.
Ohtani may prefer to stay on the West Coast. The Mariners have obviously been great for Japanese players historically.
He loves Ichiro.
And he does. He idolized Ichiro. The Giants are dying for a superstar and have tried to throw their money at people, and nobody's taken it yet. But now they're about to have that market all to themselves. And what better way to celebrate that than give Shohei Ohtani $400 million?
That's true.
We'll see where that goes. It'll be a fascinating pursuit for sure.
Final headline I've got for you today. It's realignment adjacent in college sports. This is a fairly inevitable outcome. So if you've been paying attention to the minutia of the college sports world recently, you may have seen that Oregon State and Washington State have been in court with the rest of the current Pac-12 over essentially who gets the rights to the money that still belongs to the Pac-12. So there's a lot of different things here. I won't get too deep into the weeds, but essentially they're going to court to figure out who gets control of the Pac-12 network, the money that is still owed to the conference from recent NCAA tournament runs, money that they will generate on the Pac-12 name after this year, etc. And Oregon State and Washington State won their initial court decision yesterday. I believe it was yesterday. Maybe it was Tuesday. This week has gone by in a blur. The rest of the current Pac-12, they're appealing it. Not a surprise. In the end, the way this is probably going to shake out is everybody's going to get their even amount of money for this year. Washington State and Oregon State are going to end up with the rights to everything else once the other 10 schools all leave the conference, which frankly is how it should work. That's exactly how this should unfold. So, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No.
Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports reported earlier today that following their victory in court this week, Oregon State and Washington State are moving forward with future plans. The schools have re-engaged with the Mountain West over a 2-year football scheduling alliance with the league in an agreement that may serve as the first step in a long-term partnership or even a merger. So the way this would work for at least football scheduling, let alone basketball, would be everybody in the Mountain West would play 7 conference games plus one of either Oregon State or Washington State. The Beavers and Cougars will still have to fill out a number of games from their schedule, but they will play mostly each other, and then teams from the Mountain West plus other non-conference games. According to Dellinger, the two sides are believed to be close, but a deal is not complete, may not be finalized for several days. However, models for a scheduling alliance have been developed and socialized over the last 2 months. He goes on to report that games between Oregon State and Washington State are not expected to count toward the league standings. The 2 Pac-12 members will not be eligible for the Mountain West Championship and will be quasi-independents under the Pac-12 banner. However, he goes on to say that this could set up a future merger of the 2 teams, or the 2 leagues, excuse me, not the 2 teams, which in all likelihood would mean in 2 years' time, all of the Mountain West Conference says, we are giving notice to the league. We are leaving the conference. They don't have a grant of rights like the big leagues do. So they just have to give 2 years notice. So they will all give that notice. And then after those 2 years, they will all join the Pac-12. Because frankly, Pac-12 means more than Mountain West Conference does. In all likelihood, the league offices from the Mountain West will then become the league offices for the Pac-12, including Commissioner Gloria Narvaez, who is a very good college commissioner. She has done a great job everywhere she's been.
Notably, she is not George Klebikov.
Or Larry Scott. Very good at that. So she will likely become the Pac-12 commissioner sometime in the next couple of years. And then they'll work on TV contracts after that. It is from what I can tell, it is the best of a bad scenario.
Yes. And I hope that's how that works out for Wazoo and Oregon State. Quick addendum to a previous headline. Shohei Ohtani, unanimous American League MVP. Bobby Witt Jr., 8th in the balloting.
Wow.
Actually, I'm sorry, 7th in the balloting. Got a 4th place vote, 4/5.
Good for Bobby Witt.
Right in between Yandy Diaz and Gunnar Henderson.
Good for him.
Pretty cool.
That's awesome for him.
Top 10 MVP finish.
Went a little long with that last headline. Do we have time to get to a quick break before a game preview, or should we do that real quick before we get to Mitch?
Let's do real quick the game preview for Thursday Night Football. Let's call that a headline because Thursday Night Football is tonight. It's a massive game.
Yep. Bengals, 3.5-point dogs in Baltimore against the Ravens. Who you got?
Man, like in terms of the point spread, generally, if you're giving me Joe Burrow and points, especially 3 and a hook, that's awfully appetizing to me. I think Burrow's 10-0 against the spread as a dog in his last 10.
That's crazy.
Something like that. Like, yeah, you make Joe Burrow an underdog, he makes you eat your words. That being said, they are really banged up, and Baltimore's playing a really good football, and Baltimore's at home on a short week, which I usually think benefits the home team. I might say, like, if I'm telling you where to put your money, Bengals plus 3.5 is probably where I'd lean, but I kind of feel like the Ravens win this one by a field goal tonight.
I'm going to go with the Bengals in this one. I think desperation mode kicks in this week for the Bengals. They need a win. I think they get it. They win outright, and I'll certainly take them to cover 3.5. Let's get to a break, and we'll get to Mitch Holthus after that on 580 Sports Talk. Joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline is the man, the myth, the legend. His name is Mitch Holthus. He is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, and he joins us every week at this time as a courtesy of our friends at both Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. We're talking all things Chiefs-Eagles coming up on Monday night. But first, Mitch, good to hear from you. How was the off week? How was a Sunday afternoon in mission control with 100 TVs on watching nothing but football?
Felt like watching election returns and you're going, wow, we carried Ohio. We just carried Texas. We just carried California. That's what it felt like because of just, watching and actually was listening on Sirius to a lot of them driving back from Smith Center, but everything that could go right did go right. And what an amazing weekend where the Chiefs picked up ground without even playing. It was awesome to watch the world fly by. And now the irony or interesting point is the fact that the Chiefs will get to watch another lap go around the track before they go on the field. I don't think I've seen that in my brief 30 years as the voice of the Chiefs, to have two laps go by you before you get back on the track at the pit stop.
We talked about this a little bit last week when we chatted, Mitch, but to sort of finish the thought, bookend the thought a little bit, coming out of the bye week and then one extra day of preparation with the Monday night game against the Eagles, what is maybe the number one or top two or three things you are hoping to see this team take the next step in going forward? Because the defense has obviously been great. We've talked a lot about how the offense is coming along, learning everybody's strengths, really starting to click a little bit more and more, figuring out the snap counts for everyone. What is an area or two in particular where you're hoping this team really puts the pedal to the metal as we get going into the second half?
Well, we did our 9 weeks parent-teachers conference last week.
Yep.
And so we might review that just a bit. I think that it's attacking with consistency on offense. We'll start with offense. The 8 to 15-yard no man's land that defenses are yielding at this point not to give up the big play. I'm doing a Minute with Mitch next week on Channel 13 and on your air on the radio side and on Channel 13 on the television side about how Patrick Mahomes changed the entire NFL in a way that we don't even realize. And the fact that teams have designed defenses to beat him and now they're using it to use against everybody in the NFL. The Chiefs, whether it's Rashee Rice, whether it's Travis Kelce, whether it's Noah Gray, whether it's Isaiah Pacheco, or whether it's Jerick McKinnon or others, have got to be consistent and impactful, catching the ball in the 8 to 15-yard area and getting yards after catch. And your first nugget of the night is the Chiefs still lead the NFL in yards after catch, even with, having a so-called subpar year. But that's got to happen. And then offensively to stay away, and part of that is stay away from the drops, where they have 18, and to get away from the penalties. They have 60, the most accepted penalties against them of any team in the NFL, with 12 of those being holds. So stay ahead of the change. Defensively, with the A grade at our parent-teachers conference, it's still where can you improve? And that get teams off the field. More 3-and-outs forced. Try to shift the field in the Chiefs' favor, because honestly, if you look at the first 9 weeks, Patrick Mahomes has handed the ball at the 9, the 5, the 10, the 15, and it just makes it more difficult to get that done in that no man's land. So the defense needs to create field position and more opportunities for the offense.
Defensively, what do you think it takes to get to that point, to get off the field on third down more often, to force more 3-and-outs? Maybe the better question is there anything specific you can point to that would help in that area?
Reduce the first down run efficiency of teams. I think this will be harder to do because you're facing the best team in the NFL that does it in the Eagles, where they'll even put it in extra offensive linemen. It's what Denver did to the Chiefs. They played 6 offensive linemen a lot and then just ran the ball. Now they had Javonte Williams and the other 2 backs, and the Eagles can do the same because they now have Swift, throw in Gainwell, even Scott to some extent. But you've got to win some of those run plays less than 4 yards. 4 is a tie. Actually, it's a loss on first down. You've got to get it less than 4 yards on a first down. You've got to get more the teams more in second down, 7 and 8, and third down and 6 or more. That's where this Chiefs defense needs to improve, because if they do that, they've proved they can be just really nasty in those down and distances.
We're speaking with Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, who joins us on Thursdays here on 580 Sports Talk throughout the Chiefs season, thanks to our friends at Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Mitch, we were talking earlier on the show that there might not be a more scrutinized position group in all of football this season than the wide receivers for the Kansas City Chiefs. Every move they make, we're breaking down their snap counts, we're watching their routes. It's a group that certainly needs to improve their performance in the second half of this season for the offense to reach its fullest potential. But as you hear from Andy Reid, as you hear from Patrick Mahomes, is the confidence level still really high in this group? Because it felt like the confidence was high in them coming into the season. There's been some ebbs and flows with their production, certainly, but it doesn't feel like the confidence in that group and the confidence in that wide receiver room has wavered any.
No, and I think it's more about belief than anything else. They've seen enough. I mean, it's not hope that you guys, I hope this guy can run a 4.4 and catch the ball at 9 yards, like I just said. They've seen it. Now they have to see it enough. Rashee Rice, to me, is the valedictorian of this discussion, meaning he becomes a guy that becomes very much like a Juju Smith-Schuster was last year for the Chiefs. I think he becomes lethal in that 8 to 15-yard range that I'm was talking about, that's where you've got to live now in the NFL until these offenses figure out countermeasures to the countermeasures. But you can't drop the ball 5 times. He's still tied for 4th, I think, in the league with most drops. So it's a matter of the belief is there. You see it. You see explosive plays. Tony catches a ball and gets yards after catch against the Dolphins in Germany for an 18 or 19-yard gain. We've seen Watson do it. It's just now a matter of doing it. Can you stack them up and then not, oh, gosh, it's a drop, or can't get separation. The belief is there. Now it's time to just do it more consistently, and time for really, I think, 1 or 2 guys, not for your fantasy team, but for this reality team, to push forward and separate themselves even from a whole pack of guys in that wide receiver room. And Rice would be the leading candidate.
The Philadelphia Eagles are the opponent on Monday night. Now, obviously, the last time those two teams met, the stakes could not have been higher. It was for the Lombardi Trophy. The Chiefs won that. We all remember it very fondly. The personnel is not appreciably different necessarily for either team going into Monday, but it does feel like quite a bit has changed about the Eagles from that day on February. They still got Jalen Hurts. They're still coached by Nick Sirianni. They're still running the tush push on 3rd and 4th and short. But what about this Eagles team stands out as being different going into this matchup?
Let me give you a couple of interesting stats. Of the 26 defensive players the Eagles will have on their roster to play Monday night, how many played against the Chiefs in Super Bowl 57?
Of the 26?
Yeah, there's 26 Eagles on defense right now. How many played in Super Bowl 57 against the Chiefs?
I'm going to say 11 or 12.
Well, 14. I mean, on the roster. It surprised me. It's about half. They've really turned their defense over by the half. Now, they still have the star power, right? You got a Hassan Reddick up front. You still got the Fletcher Coxes and the Derek Grahams of the world. And here's another real interesting stat that I was diving into 2 nights ago. You realize 23% of their roster is either from Georgia or Alabama. And then you throw in a couple Mississippi State guys they got, Ole Miss, Vanderbilt. I call them the Paul Feinbaum All-Stars. Like, this is the Paul Feinbaum's. This is his favorite NFL team. So I think we've got most of the SEC, and for sure the SEC West represented. All right, that being said, I'm going to answer your question here. What do I see that's different from them? I see them as being even more efficient than they were when they had the remarkable year last year. They've won 24-2 in their last 26 regular season games. That's pretty sassy in this day and age, but they're very efficient. They're number 1 in the league. They don't, they want to hang on to the ball. They've got to stay on schedule, much like they did a year ago, but they're just better at scoring. They're scoring at a 48.4% clip in every possession, either a touchdown or a field goal. The Chiefs, by comparison, are 7th in the league at 41%, but the Eagles are by far way ahead of that group. Now, defensively, I think they're not as good on the back 7. They're 26th in the league in giving up completions of 20 yards or more. An argument would be, oh gosh, well, they're ahead, so teams have to throw to, and I get that somewhat, but I also see they're 25th or 26th in the league in red zone defense, meaning teams are getting touchdowns. Last year, they were not giving up those touchdowns in the red zone. And last year, they had 70 sacks, which was the best since the 1985 Bears. They're still okay. They're still up near the lead, but they don't have that many. They're just not as dominant on defense. And that means their offense is trying to protect them, which they have to this point with an 8-1 record. That's what the Eagles offense staying on schedule. Now, do you want the most fun fact nugget of the night brought to you by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Okay. You guys alluded to the tush push or the brotherly shove or whatever we want to call it. Do you realize the Philadelphia Eagles are under center the fewest amount of times of any team in the National Football League?
That's pretty funny. That is funny.
They're last. They're last. Only 6% of the time is Jalen Hurts under center. So how many of those are tush pushes? Like, are the only time you guys going to go under centers when you do the rugby scrum tush push thing? They're hardly ever under center other than that. I just laughed when I saw it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I double checked it, and I go, okay, this is too fun. That only 6% of the time are they under center, and that's when they put all the planets within a yard and try to get a play that Theodore Roosevelt would have tried to get ruled out of the game in 1912.
Mitch, one final thing I wanted to ask you about, because Coach Reid was asked about this a ton during his media session on Monday. How soon do you think it'll be that we see an increased role for Kadarius Toney in the offense?
I don't have an answer for that. I'm sitting here. I just don't have an answer for that. Honestly, think with Hardman's place on the team and with, I mentioned Rashee Rice, KT's got to figure out a way to, we're not going into a game wondering, oh my gosh, what will he do with his 5 targets and 6 touches? We know. Because we had an idea, even when Hardman in his early part of his career, we had a pretty good idea. If you're going to give Hardman 6 touches, we think, we pretty much know this is going to happen. We don't know that with KT yet. So you know what? To me, that crystal ball is fuzzy. So I'm not dodging your question. I just don't have an answer. But the answer would be more is, are we going to see more of an increased role for Rashee Rice? Because I think now you're getting the realm of him of getting 6 to 8 targets and hopefully 6 to 7 touches.
Mitch Holthus is the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He joins us at this time every single Thursday during the Chiefs season, brought to you by our good friends at both Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. It'll be Chiefs versus Eagles Monday Night Football this week, and of course, you'll be able to listen to that matchup with Mitch and the whole crew on the Chiefs radio network right here on 580 WIBW. Mitch, appreciate the time. Hope you enjoyed the off week, and we'll talk to you soon, hopefully after a win in the Super Bowl 57 rematch.
One final nugget.
All right.
This is the seventh time that a Super Bowl rematch has happened in the regular season. 7 times. This is the first time, and well, it's the best record of any of those rematch games. With the Chiefs being 7-2 and the Eagles being 8-1 in National Football League history, this is the best 2 teams in a Super Bowl rematch in the following season.
Wow.
So, with Monday Night Football usually being kind of a mutt, is this one of the most important or most high-profile Monday Night Football games of all time, going back into the days of Howard Cosell? But you get the 2 winningest teams ever from a Super Bowl rematch in the next season meeting in this game Monday night.
How about that? Mitch, we love the Nuggets. Appreciate the time. We'll talk to you soon.
See you, boys.
That is Mitch Holthus. Nobody does it better than the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. That was fascinating about the Eagles going under center. I would have sworn, maybe not all the time, because I know it's not a huge part of the offense, but I figured it was more often than that.
Yeah, that is pretty fascinating.
Wow. How about that? With that, let's get to one final break. We'll take a time out here. We'll come back in just a moment. We'll wrap things up with the final word right here on 580 Sports Talk. Time to wrap up 580 Sports Talk. It's final word time. Dan, you're up first.
It's a good sports night with a really good Thursday night football game. Cleveland and the Bengals. The Bengals of Cincinnati and the Baltimore Ravens.
It is old Browns and team that copied the Browns.
Yes, this is true. This is true. Cleveland's fingerprints all over this game. That's what I meant. That's totally what I meant. Obviously, great Thursday night football game. But if you've got second screen capacity tonight, FS1, the second-ranked Iowa Hawkeyes and superstar Caitlin Clark taking on the K-State Wildcats tonight in Iowa City. K-State beat the Hawkeyes last year at Bramlage, and they did that without Ayoka Lee. Can they pull another upset on the road tonight? National TV, FS1 broadcast. That might be worth checking out tonight if you've got a second screen, or you can listen to it right here on 580 WIBW. Pregame at 7, tip-off at 7:30.
Yeah, that one's going to be a blast. Real quick, I just want to give a shout-out to dogs in particular. I was wrong earlier. Shohei Ohtani's dog, definitely not a beagle, just kind of looked like one laying down. Extremely good dog who gave him a high five and a handshake and looked at him longingly after Ohtani was announced as the MVP in the American League today. That was adorable. Also, Kirk Herbstreit, who posts a lot of videos of his travels since he travels 10,000 miles every week. He now brings his dog with him. Unbelievably good dog. So shout out to Shohei's dog. Shout out to Ben Herbstreit, the dog, as well. Good dogs all over the sports world. We're back tomorrow. Short show, just 2 until 4. We will hear from Mason Fairchild of KU football. We'll talk to Matt Derrick. We'll get you ready for the Sunflower Showdown and much more. That's tomorrow at 2. For Jake, for Dan, I'm Brendan. This has been 580 Sports Talk.